This conference will now be recorded.
I don't know what happened with that one. I didn't get a call, a text, an email. So.
You can write on this if you want to.
That's what I have my folder for.
That's fine.
Then I'll lose it. Doesn't even have to go in the folder, it's on the folder. All right, I guess we don't have. Since we're all pretty much here, don't know where we're missing one, but we'll begin public hearing on Madison Foods major site plan review. Just so that we're clear, if you have a comment, please go to the mic at the podium so that when she has to review it later, you can actually hear what's going on. So, and then state your name for your public comment. But first we'll start with staff report from Forrest Mandeville. He's on our on-call planner and has prepared the staff report. All right, Forrest, it's all you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Commission. So you should have the staff report in front of you. It's dated February 27th, revised March 8th. This is a zone site permit application for Madison Foods, would allow for the construction of a new grocery store, which is within city limits. Zoned highway commercial, it's located within the traditional neighborhood overlay district. It is subject to a major site plan review. It does meet the criteria in your zoning code for that because it's more than 5,000 square feet of non-residential space and has parking for more than 10 vehicles. You can see some of the background there on the front page. So one thing I want to mention is there's a proposed amended plat which would relocate lots within the Sportsman number 2 minor subdivision, Sportsman number 1 minor subdivision, and the North 40 subdivision. So it would rearrange existing lots, and then the new store would be located on lot 3 of the proposed survey, which would be just shy of 3 acres. Now, property fronts on Highway 287. There's rear access on Pearl Street. The existing grocery store would be repurposed as general commercial use, and the Sportsman's Lodge would be partially demolished. The existing grocery store is on lot 3A of the Sportsman number 2 minor subdivision. It's a about 12,500 square foot building on a 2-acre lot. The new survey, once that is filed, the new lot 1 would still be a little over 2 acres. The existing store is on well and septic. Will have the ability to tie into the town's water and sewer system. Of course, hookup fees would have to be paid were that to happen. The existing Sportsman's Lodge is located on lot 2 of Sportsman's number 2 minor subdivision on about a 3.5 acre lot. The existing building's about 4,300 square feet. The large, as I mentioned, will be partially demolished. New building would be about 3,400 square foot on a almost a 0.7 acre lot. The lodge is also served by well and septic. The proposal is it would continue to be so after this development's all done. I mentioned the property is zoned highway commercial. Purpose of this district per your zoning code is to accommodate concentrations of highway-oriented business developments in areas abutting arterial thoroughfares. These areas are intended to primarily serve automobile-oriented trade requiring parking, loading, storage areas generally incompatible with downtown core area. This district is not intended to permit uses that are directly competitive with and destructive to the success of businesses in the core commercial residential district. Current uses appear they'll continue to meet zoning requirements after the new survey has been filed. Retail stores, hotels, motels are permitted uses within the district. The new lot 1, which has the old grocery store, will have an intensity which is defined in your zoning code as less than 0.14. New lot 4, which would have the lodge, would have an intensity of 0.12. You require no more than 0.4 as your intensity, so those meet that requirement. Road frontage of at least 100 feet is required in the district. Lot 1 will meet this requirement with frontage along both Otis and Pearl Streets. Lot 2 will meet the requirements along Highway 287. Lot 3 will meet the requirement along 287 and Pearl Street, and Lot 4 will meet the requirement along Pearl Street. Current setback requirement is a 25-foot front setback. Rear and side yards need to meet the requirements of the traditional neighborhood overlay district. The old grocery store on Lot 1 set back well over 25 feet from the north, east, and west property lines, about 15 feet from the south property line. Lot 2 is currently vacant. There's an engineering report from Sean Young of AWA dated January 23 of this year. It indicates the lot will eventually have a fully automated fueling station, but that's not part of this review. Lot 3 with the proposed grocery store is set back 225 feet from the frontage with Highway 12. From the property line to the north, 5 feet from the south, 2 feet from the west. The lodge on Lot 4 is set back over 60 feet from Pearl Street, approximately 30 feet from the property lines to the east and south, and 5 feet to the north. And I do just want to mention that that Lot 2, that vacant lot, if it were developed, it would of course have to still meet your zoning code requirements. The property is located within the traditional neighborhood overlay district, or TND. The TND offers property owners, developers, and builders maximum flexibility on the design consistent with the goals, objectives, policies, and intent of the Ennis Comprehensive Plan and applicable provisions of the Montana Planning and Zoning statutes. Design parameters and review procedures to be used in administering these provisions are intended to assure full protection of the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the Ennis community. Adjacent land use to the south is highway commercial, property to the west is residential, town density. If you go to the north, it's core commercial residential. Property to the east is across Montana 287 is unincorporated at this time, agriculture. Summary of the request then, the request is for approval of the zoning site plan. As I mentioned, it's a major site plan. You do not have a planning board at this time, so that's why it goes straight to the town commission. Have mentioned the TND overlay is required. And you can require approval, denial, or conditional approval. You do have to go through findings per your code on how the development meets the design criteria, and the developer will have to provide a T&D agreement. I've not seen any public comments to date. You may have received some that I'm not aware of, and you may hear some tonight that you'll want to consider. So going through the criteria for what you have to consider, one is design quality, and I'll just go through these point by point. The project will replace an existing grocery store, which, as I mentioned, be repurposed. A larger building would then be constructed. This is an expansion of existing use, so the criteria of design quality appears met. Uses, permitted and conditional uses have to be specified in the underlying zoning district. Retail uses, as I mentioned, are allowed in the underlying highway commercial district, so that criteria is met. Density and intensity, maximum permitted residential density as defined in your code, shall not exceed what is specified. So the maximum intensity allowed is 0.4% of the lot. The new grocery store will have an intensity of about 0.24, and all buildings will be well within these parameters after the proposed amended survey has been filed. But the filing of that survey should be a condition of approval just to make sure that that is complete. Parking and loading have to be consistent with your comprehensive plan, placed either behind buildings and screens as appropriate. The parking appears to be sufficient. It meets or exceeds the minimum requirements as outlined in section 11.410 of your zoning code. Parking is in front of the proposed buildings, but that's generally acceptable for this type of use, grocery store, retail, commercial. Number 5 is parks, trails, and common open spaces have to be commensurate with the type, size, and location of the proposal. Significant amounts of parks, trails, and open space is not generally required in retail type development. There is some existing landscaping such as trees on the southern part of the property. The parking lot is privately owned and maintained, and the responsibility of maintenance of those areas would have to be outlined in the T&D, which is an agreement between the town and the developer, and those would have to be privately maintained. The preparation of that T&D agreement acceptable to the town is also a recommended condition of approval. Community facilities and utilities have to be commensurate with the type, size, and location. Utilities are generally in place to the property. There may be certain expansion of utilities, such as water and sewer, for and additional hookups to town facilities. The grocery store, as I mentioned, current grocery store is on well and septic. It may be able to connect to the town's water and sewer systems in the future through stubs that are on the property, which were installed as part of the North 40 subdivision. The anticipated use of that old store, as I mentioned, is retail. What I've heard is it could be a furniture store. The existing lodge is also on well and septic. It would be partially demolished, which would reduce the capacity from 11 units to 8 or 9. The applicant hadn't quite finalized exactly how that would end up laying out. Otherwise, the use would remain the same. The new grocery store would connect to town water and sewer as is proposed, with extensions installed by and at the expense of the developer. The engineering report indicated a 10-inch sewer main would be extended from Otis Avenue for about 500 lineal feet. A new 8-inch water main would loop around the grocery store from the 10-inch main on Otis. Colette Anderson of Great West Engineering, in a letter dated January 23rd, indicated that based on the information provided, the grocery store is anticipated to use 3,000 gallons of water per day, which is about the equivalent of 12 residential homes. She also stated that to the best of her knowledge, the town has not connected more than what was deemed available in the 2021 capacity analysis, and therefore does have the capacity in its water and wastewater systems to serve the proposed grocery store. Water, sewer, and drainage plans acceptable to the town should be prepared and submitted. This may involve the State Department of Environmental Quality, or DEQ, for review and approval of plans. Stormwater runoff, including snow melt, would have to be retained on site. Landscaping, lighting, and street furniture would have to meet the requirements of the code. Lighting and landscaping proposals appear to meet requirements. You can also see back to what we discussed under the parks, trails, and common open spaces for discussion about some landscaping. Signs in your zoning code is the guide, but may be adjusted per your P&D overlay. No information that I saw in the application indicated that any signage would be out of compliance with the requirements of the Ennis zoning code, but any development on the site would have to adhere to those requirements, of course. Number 9, access and linkage. You require maximum attention shall be given to a feature that will enhance convenient and safe and attractive pedestrian and bicycle access both off and on the site. Access, as I mentioned, is provided by Highway 287 and Pearl Street. There does not appear to be significant improvements planned for pedestrian or bicycle access to the site. However, planned parking areas do appear to be sufficient and should not cause a significant additional risk to pedestrian and bicycle safety. Number 10, streets, alleys, and parking lots. Vehicular access has to be designed and constructed to physically constrain maximum vehicular speed on collector streets to 30 miles per hour and local streets to 20 miles per hour, and on alleys within parking lots to 7 miles per hour, etc. Vehicle access is provided by Highway 287 at Pearl Street. Highway 287 is, of course, operated and maintained by MDT, Montana Department of Transportation. The applicant would have to coordinate needed improvements with the Montana Department of Transportation. And if meeting MDT requirements causes significant deviation from the submitted site plan, the town should be provided with an updated site plan so we can take another look and make sure it's not too egregious. Existing approaches for the current store and lodge do not appear to have any proposed changes. The new grocery store would need to utilize a new approach to Highway 287, which, as I mentioned, would be under MDT's jurisdiction. Parking areas appear sufficient and adhere to the zoning code. The old store and lodge would continue to have existing parking areas. The zoning code requires a parking space for every 300 square feet of floor area. 30,309 square foot building would be required to provide about 102 parking spaces. I counted about 103 spaces on the site plan, 5 of which would be sized for RVs, 6 of which would be handicap parking. Width, length, and other design requirements also appear to be met. In conditions of approval, if you do adopt the staff report and as findings of fact, I'm recommending that certain conditions be placed on it to ensure compliance with the review criteria. Those conditions are as follows. Number 1, that proposed amended plat survey would have to be filed with the county clerk and recorder. Number 2, the developer shall prepare and enter into a T&D agreement acceptable to the town. Number 3, water, sewer, and drainage plans acceptable to the town shall be prepared and submitted, and if necessary, DEQ approval shall be obtained. Stormwater runoff, including any snow melt, shall be retained on site. Number 4, the developer shall meet any and all requirements of the Montana Department of Transportation for access to and from Highway 287. If these requirements cause deviations to the site plan, a new site plan reflecting these changes shall be provided to the town. Number 5, all requirements of the Ennis zoning code, including zoning requirements of the Ennis town code, including zoning requirements, shall be adhered to at all times. So they also have to apply to any other code, not just zoning codes that you've adopted. And number 6, the application for plan review, including the site plan, water and wastewater plans, drainage plans, are considered binding, and the project shall be in compliance with the representations provided therein, except as modified by these conditions or by agreement with the town of Ennis. Madam Mayor, members of the Town Commission, that concludes my staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Forrest, can you please repeat condition number 6 that you just said?
Yes, ma'am. Number 6 would be the application for plan review, including the site plan, water and wastewater plans, and drainage plans are considered binding, and the project shall be in compliance with the representations provided therein, except as modified by these conditions or by agreement with the town of Ennis. So basically what that means is the application documents that they provided, they'd have to adhere to that, even if we didn't specifically discuss that in the staff report or these conditions. What they told us they're going to do, they have to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Forrest? Clerk's got one.
Forrest, when you say MDT's in charge of the entrance to the grocery, currently it's drawn in there with 2 turn lanes, one heading north, one heading south. Is that, does that require a study, or how do they determine? The previous grocery, why I'm asking, just has you just go out, I guess.
Yeah, so MDT has requirements for an approach permit, and I try not to predict what a state agency is going to do because they always surprise me. But their criteria is based on depending on the amount of traffic that they feel may be generated by the development, they can request a traffic plan. And I have seen instances where MDT has required turn lanes and improvements on the state highway sufficient to serve traffic generated by the development. But like I said, that's falls under MDT's authority to manage traffic on their road.
Any other questions for Forrest? On the staff report? All right, next we'll go to you guys. You get to kind of represent anything.
Hey, welcome to the town council meeting.
Thank you.
So, I'm Jared Mitchell. I'm with. Is that better?
It's on now.
Awesome.
We're glowing.
I'm Jared Mitchell. I'm with Associated Food Stores, the warehousing company that supplies Chris and Madison groceries. Appreciate the council, the commission being here, Mayor as well. Thank you for your time in considering this project. This has been a long time coming. This is a project that's kind of taken on a few different shapes and sizes over the years, and we're excited to be to this point, to be in front of you to present this, our ideas, and really Chris's dreams for what her grocery store can provide for the town. As Forrest mentioned, this new store going from 12,000 square feet up to 30,000 square feet is going to really provide the store the ability to service the community's needs in the low times, but even more so in the high times when the store's bursting at the seams and you've got all of the traffic coming through the town. So we're really excited about the opportunity that this provides, and we feel like we have a look and a feel that is really complementary to what you guys have here going on in the town. It is going to be something that will be longstanding for the look and the feel of Ennis as a whole. And we're here to answer any questions that you guys have in regards to the specific development or design that we're trying to accomplish.
Am I missing that? Nothing. Oh. Anybody else? I'm just missing it? No,
Only on the like major maps that I've seen most of them.
that's layout. We don't have design. Is there something that was provided to town for design?
Yeah, and we've got renderings if you guys are interested. And we brought a few if you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. I don't think so. I need a bigger workspace.
Right.
Oh,
So that's bottom one is that's the building renderings. So each line is a different elevation of the room. So
Oh, there's something fancier.
what you're seeing there, the main structure is going to be a block building with a TPO roof on it. Very typical for a white span building. And then we'll have brick, kind of decorative brick and wood paneling, painted wood paneling, very minor ephes, just in certain areas like cornice detail and things like that, the tops of the walls. So.
You arrive at an increase of 3 times the size of what's here currently.
So we've actually conducted a retail study that helps us arrive at the amount of, based on the amount of residents in the town or shoppers in the town, what's the average basket size for a household, plus taking into account the incumbent seasonal traffic as well, which is a big factor in this one. Obviously, we don't we're very cautious to not oversize the store. You know, it kind of what we try to aim for is, you know, it shouldn't be too comfortable in the high times. It should still be just a little bit painful, but so that you're not oversized in the low times, especially in an area that's highly seasonal.
So one of the renderings, I guess, that I saw had fuel pumps in it. So you guys are planning on doing a fuel service?
Yeah, we're working we're working with the fuel company right now, just working through the studies, making sure we right size that. But the long-term objective is to have, they'll be ran through the grocery store.
As a point of clarification, the fuel islands are not part of this application,
Correct. Yeah, that'll be a totally separate,
not something anybody should be concerned with.
The expanded store features that aren't in the current.
Absolutely. I'll say it'll enhance all the features that are there. So the new store will have a full bakery, full deli, full meat department, greater offerings, expanded offerings in the center store. So your dry grocery, things like that. So really enhancing and full dairy as well. So it'll be a complete shoppable grocery store. So.
What's the little side door? Looks like another little business.
What does that mean when it says tenant?
Assuming that the center is the main door.
But yeah, I'm
Yes,
assuming this is the main
store
entrance.
Within the stores, though, you know? Is this
We're not putting that door there.
Oh.
Because that could have been like for like delivery, in and out.
Yeah, like e-commerce.
Oh, gotcha. So that'll just be wall.
Yeah, that'll just be.
Good idea.
So e-commerce is not being considered right now. It's part of it.
We're already doing e-commerce.
You are.
Craig, turn your mic on. Thank you.
So I guess I'm looking at your Madison food sign and it has 4 locations for tenants. So what do you foresee for individuals, like businesses within the store?
So within the floor plan of the store, we are looking at providing a financial space for financial institutions, as well as a future possible restaurant option that's in addition to the grocery offerings. So, and then also as Forrest mentioned, the existing store will be converted to retail as well, just like a retail shop. So that would be on the roadside, that there would be a space for that. And when the fuel gets there, there'll be space for that side as well.
So possibly like a banking business.
Correct. Yeah, credit union. Okay.
That's kind of where I was going with my question.
Okay.
What more would you expand on or be adding?
Like a sit-down restaurant?
Yeah, there'll be sit down in there, not a fast food.
Like Rose Hours, essentially.
What's that?
Like Rose Hours.
Correct, yeah. They've got similar options. So we've been talking with Arctic Circle. Nothing's finalized yet, but we've been looking in that direction to provide.
And then what, another additional space for retail?
It's the vacated store, so the existing store that's
Oh,
there now
that,
will
oh.
convert to
Yeah.
separate.
Okay, got that.
What do you think as far as number of employees how many employees do you guys propose, or are you proposing, I guess?
Chris addressed that.
Well, we're short staffed as it is. We probably will expand those employees. Right now, we're running just right under 50. So I'd assume hiring another 20 to 25.
Same
You
hour?
get more efficient when you get bigger. If that makes sense to you.
Same hours? Same,
Yeah.
6 to 9?
So, I can't remember what the lady's name, someone who's currently affiliated with your business told me a while ago, about another store where they put employee housing on the roof of the building. Maybe to take care of some, seasonal needs, which we definitely have here, but I was just curious. What's that? It's against the law.
It's just in the summer when it's warm enough to sleep up there.
Well.
I recommend things that are not actually applicable in the code. Highway, commercial, and.
Well, it would full on be incorporated into the design. I'm not suggesting that people camp on the roof.
I'm saying highway commercial is not actually supposed to have.
Okay.
And if I remember right.
Well,
I don't have the whole thing memorized, but I do kind of vaguely remember somewhere there being highway commercial and
we
not.
are in a housing crisis, so.
So in some of the apartments will be demolished, some of that, the block rooms?
We don't have enough room. We have to take it down.
Isn't that part of the affordable housing though, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we lose two full units.
And that'll stay the same look, or is that gonna be updated to be part of the whole?
As of right now, we haven't included any updates in those units as of yet.
If the fuel islands don't end up working out, is there anything else that may be put in there instead?
Possibly. So we haven't considered anything yet. We don't envision the fuel will fall through. Everything's looking positive on that side. So we really just kind of kept our focus on that. So we haven't really considered what the other options.
And this curb up by the fuel islands, is that required by DOT? It just seems like that's going to be a whole lot of congestion right there with fuel pumps up at the front and kind of an eyesore. But I just feel like that entrance is going to be very congested with the islands and being one of the only exits.
Well, and that's exactly why we're currently in with MDT and DEQ as Forrest mentioned in the requirements. So as with MDT, we are trying to get a second curb cut into that so that we can isolate the traffic coming through the fuel line. Or deflect the traffic from coming through the fuel line.
So is this coming before us? Is this like a little premature?
No, this is
The site plan for just the store itself, and then I don't even know the answer. You have to go through.
Yes, so the curb
Once
cut
the
here
lines are
in the
readjusted.
here,
Mhm.
that is that is representing the new curb cut. The existing curb cut is bad. It's not actually represented on that. It's the one that's there today. So you see lot one is you see about half of it.
Lot 3 on the, I guess, south side. There's that little indentation. What is that?
That would be an ATM.
For the credit union?
Yeah, drive up ATM.
Is there a loading dock on here?
Yes, the loading dock is between if you look right between lot 2 and lot 3, you'll see it facing the docks. South.
At the front of the store?
Sorry, what's that?
At the front of the store?
Facing towards the back.
Between lot 2 and lot 3.
Which
one? This is a raised propane tank, right?
No, this is just like a concrete pad. The trucks can pack into here. Propane is right there. Yeah, so that, this. There. So like where the parking lot is now, this is where it'll start going down. It grades down.
And you're backed right up to the street.
Is it right here?
It is right here.
Oh, that is it. And so what's that?
This is just.
Yeah, where they have outlets,
Access.
like Pearl Street.
Back in.
Yeah.
So it just
This
seems
is
like
where
it's
the grade
backed
starts
right
going
up
back down.
So
Got it.
is this the current one or is that gone away?
That will be taken off.
This is
So you're backed right up to the road there on Pearl Street.
Yep, we have, I think, whatever your setback requirements are, is it 15 feet on there? Those are met.
Yep.
And then this road in here, is that gonna be an actual road?
Yep.
And you'll have no parking signs?
No, this right here, this little bump out right here will be a drive-through. Arctic Circle will sit right in here. It'll be a drive-through, one way.
So no, there's no, so that's not technically an entrance, it's just an exit. So that means there is literally.
This little bump out.
Yeah. One is.
It's a drive-through, but it won't.
She said it.
This way.
Well, yeah,
You
the
can't
only
come
exit,
in this way.
an exit only.
Drive through to
No
pick up
entrance.
Arctic
groceries?
Circle.
or it's
Arctic, oh, that's a dumb question. Arctic Circle, what is Arctic Circle?
Yeah,
Just, okay.
which is,
That's gonna be rough.
it's gonna be congestion. I mean, there's just gonna make way too much traffic on Pearl Street.
In this area, the store,
Yeah.
right where these, kind of where these stores.
Yeah,
Sure.
or take,
I think we just ask her that.
it's just too easy, it's too hard for us to watch.
Mhm.
That's what I was wondering. I thought maybe it was another business because I thought it was.
No, it's all inside, I mean, it's our business, it's not, we're not renting this spot out to anybody.
Chris, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
That's fast food.
Magnifying
And that's
glass.
her employees, she's not renting it to anybody else.
So,
She can 25 employees.
and I
to
can't
be in
tell
to
if
run
it's
that.
no, that's because it's
That's a
tiny,
good
but it's like where this well is, that's not in theory going to be used for the fire suppression sprinklers.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Can you say
So
that again?
tiny.
Yeah, that
Nikki,
has to
can you say
be,
that again?
So I was worried that one of the wells was actually going to be the water source for the sprinkler system itself, but it's not. Okay. So any well would be just irrigation. Okay.
Yeah, there was a comment in the notes of, that's how it is today. One of the third well or whatever, one of the 3 wells is currently being used for irrigation. But we would be essentially abandoning that use and just.
Are Madison Foods employees gonna run Arctic Circle or is
The credit union,
the credit union is not us.
okay. They're renting from you,
Yes.
but the Arctic Circle's gonna be your employees.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Year round?
Yes.
Eric, I posed that question that we were looking at and the well is not to.
Yeah, I
not-
heard that. And
Okay.
That's real good. I
That was
do,
what I
Nikki, may I throw some
Yes,
concern
if you have
on
questions.
Yeah, just throwing some concern on how wide Pearl Street is. It's really not that wide of a road. The more traffic coming off of that would really be troublesome.
So what about that section off of lot 1 onto Hutchins that we discussed? Would you
Right.
think that would alleviate? Yeah.
I think it
So,
would be a lot better than Pearl Street. There's, we can only fit the plow down that road. That's it. It's not that wide. I don't know exactly how wide it is, but it's a pretty narrow street.
so I don't, do you have this one?
Yes, I do
Okay.
now, I'm sharing.
This is one that we were looking at and reviewing with Public Works, that map, so that everybody knows which one we were looking at when we were talking about it. So if you look kind of where I highlighted, I think that's your current drain field.
This, yeah, this is the current source, our existing drain is right here.
No, I came out Monday. Nikki, does Rosetters have an architect? No, they have a huge deli and a huge seating area. Yeah, it's completely. They have sugar. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I mean, this will go,
That's fine.
so lot 1 will go over here like this. So that'll
Do they have anything to say?
There's an easy.
No.
That would be my thought.
Cause that'll take.
That's take some pressure off. That's the yeah. Because we're not gonna let people go that way.
Gotcha.
So just exit only, right there.
So maybe that's a thought on that revision, if we can make that work. I think it,
Easement through there, right?
yeah, I don't know.
Do we?
I think we'd have to look. Susie probably doesn't know if we could do that. Forrest?
Yes.
Forrest? Okay,
Yes.
I'm looking at a map from Gaston Engineering. You've seen this one? So I was looking to see if there's a possibility that you could do a road extension with an easement, like right behind the current Family Dollar onto Hutchins Lane, so that you would have a secondary egress kind of thing.
Okay.
So is that doable?
Let me take a picture and I'll send it to him real quick.
I highlight a thought that is
Yeah,
doable.
lot 1 under the revised survey would have some access out onto Hutchins, I believe. So that could be a potential access to the old store, which would be repurposed. So there could that could be a possibility. I think they have a water line planned along along the western line of
Yeah,
the Family Dollar store. So
that's what I was thinking, why we could do that as part of that easement is.
yeah, I mean it could be theoretically possible.
Okay. I like options that might make this better.
Sure.
Okay. And then where were the new hydrants was my other question. Was that there was 2 or 3?
No. Oh, yeah.
I believe there's 2 hydrants.
They are very tiny.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought there was 2, and one being between lot.
One's between lot 4 and the actual store, and then one is at the very very right corner, top right, left corner of lot 4.
Proposed fire hydrant, that's at the building itself in the back, at the service room.
Oh, so that's.
And then up the front corner, thank you.
So it's not actually a fire hydrant, that's their fire suppression?
No, there's 2.
In between existing sportsman and grocery store, right?
It's commercial, they'll have to sign off on it.
Well, on the sprinkler system for the store for sure, and then the additions, but
And just put those hydrants, everything's already been approved by the state, so
Okay.
the water, they know it. It's definitely met their requirements. Not that you wouldn't have other possibly, but just, that was already.
so my other concern there is in the overall look, like for the site itself, it's great location. But looking at where I have other hydrants, where the town has other hydrants, if in fact lot 2 gets developed as planned, then for fire, I would actually have to roll past the island to hook up. And this building between, the space between is a little tight. So I would love to see a hydrant on, what is that? Corner of the property by the parking lot, basically.
By between lot 2 and lot 3.
Like on the 287 side, kind of somewhere in here where it's not going to mess with anything that you've got going, but maybe somewhere in here. So I can actually do a flat rollout right here because my next main hydrant is over here. Same as the one there. I wouldn't have to drive past if something ever happened here. We could actually do a hose lay from that one and not have to drive past a fire to go to. I don't have the underwater laying plans to see if it's like, but location wise, when I was looking at it, that's probably the best location for a fire hydrant. And then it gives us also access, a straighter line to across the parking lot to the proposed propane tanks in the rear and the existing lodge portion, your employee housing that you're keeping.
Yeah, and we're happy to take a look at that. We obviously want it to be the most functional and accommodating layout possible.
That was my only concern. I'm like, it's not technically part of it with the fuel islands, but I could see if we had to drive past them, where that's going to be our main entrance, especially with the bigger trucks.
Yeah.
Especially with our structure trucks, that's going to be the only way we can get into it. So I would have to drive past a potential fire hazard with my truck to hook up to a hydrant. So the other location would prevent that from being an issue. And still on your property and still within where we're putting water lines, I think.
Is that road still going to be open between, like, on the side of Sportsman to get back to the housing? That little dirt road.
So that would be.
Who maintains that right now? Sportsman?
We probably both would. Because the property line almost goes.
In the middle of it?
It's like 3/4 of the cars and then it kind of goes and then it's land.
All right, any other questions for your grilling? You might still, when we go into public comment, they might have a question or something for you as well.
No problem. All great questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to open the floor to public comment. If you have a comment, please come to the mic, say your name or question, I guess. No call for public. Second call for public comment. Last call for public comment. Okay. Seeing no other public comment, none was submitted, right? We didn't have any others submitted. Yeah. Seeing no public comment, we'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing and open it to commission comment. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, I guess basically one of my primary concerns would be how traffic gets backed up in the summertime out in front and not having a second point of egress. I think, is it egress? Yeah, I think the ability to leave. But, and Forrest, maybe you can speak to that. I believe you were kind of on board when we were discussing master plan with the discussion of roundabout. Don't kill me. But we did, you are, I believe you are familiar with how it does back up there in the summertime.
Sure. I was not involved in your master plan or roundabout discussions, but I am familiar enough with the area that I do know it can back up a bit there. And that's something we can sure talk to MDT about if there are concerns and see if that's something they can address. Like I said, the applicant will have to work with the state Department of Transportation to make sure that they're not creating more of a traffic issue there.
We've had a traffic study done already, and that's what MDOT came back to us with. And they know that we have, there's 4 other points of egress out of there. If you want to have David Lyons do one, that would be 5.
Oh, really? I guess I was just under the impression that we don't have.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
what
where's
you
the-
see in the plan is the second official ingress egress point.
Okay.
The current one is up at the top of the page on launch.
Mhm.
So you have both of those two go out on the highway, then you've got the Pearl exit, not even counting the Sportsman's exit.
What map are you looking at? I don't
Yeah,
see anything on lot 2.
So the
Why
existing
don't we have
one
that?
would still be there.
It's in the.
In the revised?
It's in there.
The current
This is
one.
So it's gonna stay.
And then this is the
Oh, okay.
one that we're
This
proposing.
is today. This
Right
is
here, and then we have out here.
So essentially there'll be
Here,
2.
So family
here,
Right.
here, and if you
So
go
you
to
can
the
go this one, that one. And then-
This does,
So the current one is staying.
oh,
Yeah.
from the side of the store where this is where it's blocked off
Yeah.
in the winter.
Yep.
That'll
And that
be
parking
open?
lot, the existing store will be accessible.
Yes, yeah, and then you got.
There's not gonna be like barriers put up here.
Because our drain field's under there right now. And
So
when
that'll
he
be-
purchases this store, we have
All
a
of
has
this
to go to city water and sewer. That was something that we had discussed with the city prior.
So then that would no longer be an issue. So that would be an exit. Cause yeah, when you look at it right now, that's this.
Sure.
Yep, this one here.
46 maps later, I still don't know what
Yeah,
it is.
this was pretty clear as an entry and exit point, but it wasn't clear that. the-
Well, I think there's a revised, I don't know.
This one was potential.
Oh, cause this doesn't.
So
have
how
to
would you
show.
technically get out at the Sportsman's?
It comes,
Okay.
this lines up with it right there. It comes back around the streets. Like I said, we don't really.
It's currently right.
Counting that.
That's where all those little housing units are
Correct.
at.
Yeah, that's.
Right. And that's their parking lots for the housing
Okay,
units?
so that's just not on there. So it's
Right.
not like it has to go away. So this one is here. I didn't know if they were.
Yeah.
Traffic.
So you're good there.
Grocery store. Smart,
You
so-
can still like drive right here and get up here and here.
Yeah.
And then this will be here. And whatever David
Part of the
does,
expansion.
there's that there. And if you put
Pharmacy.
one there.
I mean, they're really easy everywhere.
That's okay.
Does that make
But
sense?
you're ultimately always
I just
gonna,
realized
like,
that one.
there will always be that easement. The easements aren't gonna go away. I mean, they're currently not there, but
Yeah, I mean, we're working with DOT right now to get this one. And the traffic study's already been done on what is in here for what we need to there.
Traffic study based on additional drive-through, fast food, bank and all of that. Cause that, I mean,
Yep.
that's gonna be a bit of a difference.
A little shaky.
And getting to Ennis Home Furnishings is,
And there's another sewer easement through like the park part of the North 40. I think is what Eric said.
Back behind the store.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's what?
The sewer easement is actually going through the park portion of the North 40. There's a section of gravel that's actually a park. So long term, it actually does work out because then if the town develops that park, we can actually put water and sewer in there because they will already have had the sewer extension. Yeah, so we'd have the ability to tie in if we wanted to put an actual park of some sort there. There would be the ability to put in bathrooms.
Okay. And so the existing sportsman's grocery store will be hooked up and the old grocery store will all be hooked up to city water and sewer.
The 11.
And the- Also, the existing buildings left standing of the
Right.
employee house.
Yeah, because isn't there somewhere in the
I thought.
codes that says that wells are for irrigation only,
Yes.
correct?
Right. Yes.
So they will all be hooked up to city water and sewer.
As proposed, the 11, 9 or 8 units
Will be.
were staying on well, but the 2 stores were being
We-
connected.
I don't think.
No.
we're-
No.
I think your code is specific to new wells.
2 new wells? Okay.
No new wells may be drilled within town limits except for irrigation purposes only.
But this was annexed in, so why
Asking.
wouldn't it be?
Asking policy.
Forrest,
Right.
Sorry. So this portion of land was already annexed in with the existing Sportsman's Lodge. So how come they're not already on city water and sewer on that lot?
I don't know.
But theoretically, they should be.
Yes.
You could have required connection as a condition of annexation.
I thought, well, maybe it says to be on water and sewer, you must annex in, not.
So are you talking about the old store or the new store?
We're talking about the
The-
apartments.
Those small
The
apartments.
I think when they annexed in the old store, now that that's the part, they intended to build on at that time and put such water and sewer, but that never happened, so I think that's where the old store fell into water and sewer.
But they're asking about the.
Yeah, these
Existing.
the housing units.
Who controls who tests the well then? Like, I guess that's just one of those random, it's just
You
tended.
gotta have an operator to be using that well for drinking water. It turns you into a small community system.
Yeah.
Yeah, so DEQ will require testing and certain parameters on that.
I would prefer it just be hooked up to
That's why I
city's
thought it would
water.
strange because then you'd have to have a well operator since it's not for your own private use. It's for a
Right.
rental situation. So you would have to have a well operator with the license for testing. That's why we thought it would be probably smarter to just put it onto town system so that, because I don't know that you have an operator for your well since it's a tenant situation instead of a
Is that
privately.
being used for water right now?
I mean, it's always been used for that, right?
It wasn't part of the town. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
I'm just
option
like,
now.
we'll do whatever. I'm just trying to understand what we need to do.
Well, Forrest,
Mhm.
sorry, go ahead, Ginger. Forrest, could you elaborate maybe on like what's happening in Bozeman with like all of these little islands that are surrounded by water and sewer hookup, and uh, how Bozeman is moving forward with pursuing getting rid of those, so essentially maybe I'm making this up, but I mean, isn't that something that Bozeman is actually currently pursuing?
I I couldn't speak to what Bozeman is doing. It varies by community as far as addressing those islands of county within an incorporated municipality and how you want to handle that. And there are different state codes um, uh, that govern whether or not you're whether or not you're annexing contiguous property, wholly surrounded property, or whatnot. Um, but as far as if someone's on well and septic, is if someone wants to annex, I think that'd be something to handle during the annexation period. But you do have it in your code that someone cannot connect to water and sewer without annexing. So it's kind of um, the opposite situation, I guess. But I will add that Eric is correct as far as needing an operator for a public water system.
You
And
probably
that's,
should have one right now.
I think they probably need one under DEQ's rules because that's handled by DEQ. And if it falls under a public system, they'll be required by the state to have an operator.
Right.
So that would be, I'm betting that that's going to be, since it's not,
I'm sure that they're probably, do you think they're probably what their code?
I would probably predict that
Condition.
yeah, be one of,
That would be a forest.
Yeah.
so, yeah. In my thought process, I think DEQ will probably either require you to have an operator, and then operators have to have CEs. That's where Eric's at right now. Hi,
Yay.
Eric, getting his CEs because you have to have all those. So having and keeping an operator is so much fun. That might be just smarter to hook it in and be done with it and not have to fight after.
So with the big conversation in the last meeting of adding 2 more residents and water, I know we're going to have a study workshop here after this, but this would account for 12 residents.
Yep.
That's what they assume the sizing's compatible to.
Random question, how long would you think it would take to actually build this?
To build this.
Yeah.
We're about 10 months.
So Eric, do you think that we have enough water for this?
I think we can handle this store at 3,000 gallons a day. But again, we are getting up to that number. We're, you know,
We want you to be able to sleep at night, and I feel better with knowing that
Yeah,
that's
how
coming,
many,
but
yeah.
how many
Well,
more
we got
houses
a,
coming up?
Right, we keep going back to this. I mean, when do you say
Mhm.
no? How do you,
When Eric and the engineer say no.
when it's too late? I mean, engineers involved.
excuse me.
hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
No,
I don't mean that in a bad way, Eric. I was,
no, I know. I
okay.
know. I definitely know. But
Okay.
we all know how I feel about this.
So
I'm
Yes,
gonna stand by it.
that's why we're trying to think
Make
of
it so
you.
you sleep.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah.
not a
No,
lot
I
of
appreciate
new,
it.
there's not a lot of new landscaping, correct? There's not, it's, I love landscaping, but at the same time, it takes a little bit of water
And maintenance, so.
and
We're
maintenance.
happy to have maintenance free.
We like,
So Eric, are you also, you're also considering all fire flow demand and leakage that we currently have in your ability to, or our ability to handle the water requirements?
Yeah, I believe all that went through Colette,
yeah.
and she
Colette
actually
approved.
had another look at it recently, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're still there, still kind of right at our fire flow. The greatest, not the worst. All right.
So I spoke with Mikey Walters, who is the owner manager of Walters Grocery and
Sheridan.
in Sheridan, yeah, and he's the mayor of Sheridan as well. Regarding what just his experience as a grocer, it's a 120-year-old business, but they're kind of ultimately landlocked to a certain degree. They're not able. They did put a pharmacy in for a little while. It was just crammed in this little corner, but ultimately, yeah, groceries are kind of a community center. Everybody does go to a grocery store, and I feel the more amenities you can have in these things, the better. And it is a locally owned business, which is even better. If we got problems, we know who to talk to. As to, but yeah, I guess that's just my 10 cents. Three Forks is actually getting another grocery store. They have an old family business there. Town and Country is moving in. But that's what I know what's happening there. But yeah, and I guess Mike also went on to talk about like when the grocery store in Twin Bridges closed, McAlear's, and that also had a pharmacy in it, and that was uh, the owner, the new owner was told to get the business up and running like pronto because it's ultimately the start of the death of the town when there are there's no place to get groceries. So, but I guess you guys are you're going to be offering winter discounts for residents then, is that true?
As long as they would force it on me.
Questions? Any more?
Oh, and bicycle parking. Yeah.
That was, okay, speaking of T&D, that's not actually T&D, but the trash enclosure. That was the other thing that I don't know where I was supposed to find it.
Did we send all of that stuff to you, Susie? So it's on the back side of the building. It would be
Oh, sorry, when you answer to the mic.
Right there.
It's there. Okay.
Yep, that's it.
And it's a fenced in.
Okay.
Yep.
At the back.
I mean, like fence you can't see through.
Okay.
Windproof.
Good luck with that. All right. So, all of our discussion, I would say that my conditions, if we were to add any, would be the hydrant on the lot 3 southeast corner. Fire concern from it. In the future, if we're doing maps back and forth, any digital format so that we can print it out to the guys easier, because we get paper copies and some of it's not that great and hard to read. Or maybe it's just my eyes, which is entirely possible, because I had a magnifying glass out for some of the maps and site plans. Magnifying glass. So when we talk about forest conditions, any changes, if they're made digital format with map, so I can actually read it. So we did that. Another condition, I think we should just do the apartments to be hooked up to water and sewer and meters and metered. Avoid that fiasco later and just be done with it. And then the signage is pretty much all there, but any other additional signage like your handicap parking, that's all on you guys.
Like the
condition or is that a suggestion or what?
Oh, the road connecting? I have no idea. That's a discussion back and forth. Mine for sure is the hydrant. Our apartments need to be hooked up.
and all
With
the
the
signage for the exit, essentially that being an exit only, they're required for all that signage too.
Yeah. Signage for the properties, there's. Learned my lessons from the North 40.
Are you gonna make that narrow enough to where it, with arrows on it, the drive-through basically, kind of, just so it's neck down to the point where people aren't trying to drive through it backwards, I guess. But it sounds like there's plenty of egress points.
So if the old one is going to be under a different person's ownership, I don't know, this question too. At that point, can the town still ask them to hook into water and sewer?
Why can't we do it before?
That
Why
we
can't we
already
make that
have.
conditions of the sale?
It's in my buy sell.
As long as that's covered. There. Couple of little check marks. Did my homework. Had my pile. Got my readable maps. So yeah, the road connecting, I don't know how we feel about that. If it's if it's doable.
Yeah. So how do we condition?
I don't know if it's outside of its easement or if it's doable. I'm gonna die for a minute. You're in charge.
Forrest, how long would it take to determine whether that map that Susie sent you, that ingress egress point, would be, or would that be something you could research for us, or how do we move forward?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you want to do it. I don't know that you would want to require a road there, but you might be able to come up with some language about an asphalt driveway shall be provided to provide access to Hutchins Lane. And you could put a width requirement, 20 feet, something like that would be sufficient.
We're talking about right here.
Behind the Family Dollar.
Yeah.
Can we put that under our conditions today, Forrest?
I believe you can. Yes. And I'd just be prescriptive on surfacing and width. So like a 20-foot asphalt surfaced driveway connecting to Hutchins, I think would be sufficient. You can ask the applicants there, see if they're nodding their head whether or not that's
So
they think that's
the
doable
question-
or not.
I guess the question we have is that property is already under a buy zone. Now we're affecting our ability to sell that. Big deal.
I think it needs addressed.
Is there like something that says how many points of egress or how much that we have to have into
Yeah, there's
property? I mean, I just see that becoming a.
Oh, on the road.
All you have in your code that I could find was you need to have 100 feet of frontage. And they do have that on several roads. It's kind of an odd shaped parcel after the boundary line relocation. But they do have that required frontage on Hutchins, Otis, and Pearl.
I'm not hard set on it. It was just one of those, like, I think it could make the property all the way around or all the properties flow better or give the ability to flow better. Mostly like us residentials would know the super secret route so we could get in and out during the summer.
Well, it's so congested as it is. I think it's necessary.
If there's an emergency condition.
I didn't see that there was another spot up front when I was looking.
Well, and it's an undeveloped piece of property as it stands. The new owner will have to submit for whatever work whatever they're gonna do to finish that land. Not the last time.
Those are the 5 spots. No, those are.
So that whole
Handicap.
section, the existing, or that whole section sells with lot 1?
Yes, right behind the Family Dollar, so, where we have the blockades, and behind the Family Dollar will be his.
Oh.
Yeah, so, and it's like undeveloped right now. And he'll be coming, if he does anything with his stuff. The grade between lot 1, 2, it's.
But that is an easement. That connector, if you will, there's a 20-foot thoroughfare that goes
That's what
through there.
She's asking if there is a.
There's
one
not.
right now.
Okay.
I thought there was, but there's not.
What is that? Just a setback? Or why is it?
Water main. That's why. It would have to be, wouldn't it? For if it's a water main?
The DEQ, yes.
Easement.
Yes.
It just wouldn't have to be improved, but it's the perfect place to drain all that off.
Eric, what were you saying?
Oh, go ahead. Never mind.
I didn't have it. I was just looking at my map. I think we hit all the points that we talked about the other day. Am I missing anything?
Water rights?
Water rights. There's that. Since they can't be used for, I mean, none of the wells are used for anything after this anyway.
Okay.
It's typically something that's done with annexation, so one of the conditions could be that we have the water rights. I don't know what that does for us long term. Yes.
So are you saying give the town water rights to the existing wells? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Yes.
Yes, Eric, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's common practice.
Yes. Typically during annexation.
How do you guys feel about that? About surrendering your water rights? Essentially, correct, Eric?
I mean, isn't that a part of annexation, right?
Typically. So what do we do? What's the plan for the irrigation then?
Yeah, what is irrigated?
Because there was one well for irrigation.
I don't know why they.
This is irrigated and that's it.
I'm not dead set on. I just thought that was a part of annexing. Period.
And we're gonna
That's all.
need our water out by when we put in the gas pumps, we have to have water out there. So if you take that well.
And we can't use it as a town well because of the fuel. Like, there's no way it's that DEQ would ever permit that well site for public use.
And
So,
that pot too isn't part of this anyway.
no.
You would need
the
a.
lot.
You would need 100-foot circle around any well to use that for the town. And I don't think you could get that out of any of those.
No, you can't. I don't know if the water rights does anything for our ability to, our capacity.
I understand.
Okay. So, not necessary, I guess. Does it, I don't know enough about that to say, does it help us in another way as a community?
I'm not sure.
I feel like John or Moore said yes.
I believe in some roundabout way it does help.
Because then you can
Forrest?
eventually use eminent domain if
It's
you have no other.
typically the water right surrendering would be done through or during a subdivision process or an annexation process. You do allow wells for irrigation in your code.
Yep.
I don't know what water rights exactly would be associated with this. So I don't know if it's a huge deal.
Yep.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it does anything. Once we looked at the location.
I mean, we hold North 40's water rights. Anyways.
So the more water rights we have, then I feel like John, I could be wrong, maybe I didn't hear that accurately, but eventually if needed, if we have no other option for a well, we could use eminent domain and use that right, having water right.
But you'd have to pay for that, and I don't even know that you'd want to go there. You know what I'm saying?
How many wells are currently on the property? Okay.
3.
One on existing grocery.
So the existing grocery store, there's one out in the irrigated area. And then there's one at the north end of the lot 11 units.
So the one that's gonna service the pumps, I thought there was one over here for the pumps.
No, there's one right in here.
Yeah.
And that will take care of those. And then there's the one right here.
What feeds the grocery store? The front.
This well.
Oh, that one does.
Yeah,
feed this.
that
Okay.
feeds that. So that's why we had to tell him that he's required to hook up to city water and sewer.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Where's the existing well on the
You would never get
existing
that.
grocery store?
You, even if you eminent domain that,
So these are two, are also wells, right?
there's no way.
That is one.
No, it's not. Then you can't use that.
Existing well.
It's not a
That's
hundred
pressure
feet.
tanks in there.
Mhm.
Sorry.
There's no benefit to the town unless there's something pulling in your ability for future. So
Okay.
existing well right here.
And that existing well is gonna be used for landscaping, which I would rather it
And
not
so
be drawn
this
off of.
is going to be open in and out, just like it is right now.
This
This is-
existing well would be for
In
the
and out.
irrigation
Yeah, they're gonna be
anyway, so I'd rather that.
And you
Come
can
up with
go
that
from,
better
here's the
public
front of the
system.
store, right?
Sure.
You can go around
This,
here.
even
get
if,
out, like-
let's say you didn't, like, that wasn't a fuel island and you wanted to try and domain that
Because
or
right now,
whatever.
This is the road, the little round.
Look at how
curve.
close it is to the highway, it
So
would
it goes right
never,
there and it goes right there.
you would
And the
never
road's right
be able to establish a public water
And
supply
then this
there.
would be a road here.
This one? No. If there was.
Is this the latest
Is there
one?
water
Latest
here?
version of this?
Yeah, why don't we
It's
have the
February
latest
14th.
This is the EV.
I think this, but this is.
I can't answer that question.
It just looks like it's a lot
There.
more. This looks like it's a curb. You know,
What?
it's
Yeah.
off,
And it's
kind of a thing.
This,
This, we've already.
but that ground is too
DOT
empty.
in this one. This is
Saying, like, if you try, even if there was something right here, you
Yeah,
couldn't get.
that's the thing. I was like, this
water
is,
system
yeah,
on
that,
something that's been that close to it. And this one,
Yeah, that
I
one's.
still think this is pretty crucial.
so, yeah, there's nothing we can gain from it that's gonna. All right, who's got what? I kind of set my ideas out, but I don't vote.
Can you
Any of
repeat
you-
them?
You can disagree with my,
Can you share it again?
ma'am, what did I have? Readable maps for the next round or any new addition.
Hydrant,
Hydrant,
southeast corner.
yep,
Some future overlays digital. Hook up the housing to sewer and water. Discuss this easement.
I'd love that easement to happen. In a million ways.
This one.
I don't. Oh, yeah, and all signage is required and responsible by them. I already looked at the storm room system, and that's theirs forever. I hope the tank thing, I don't know anything about it, so good luck. And that was it. So there's mine.
Readable maps for the next presentation.
The apartments need to be hooked up to water and sewer. All signage is the responsibility of development. Hydrant on lot 3, southeast corner. That's pretty much what I had.
Southeast.
Yeah.
Corner of Lot 3.
Yes.
can, we just make sure all main line extensions go through a DEQ approval process, please.
Okay. Which they have to anyway.
Yep.
And none of the drain water will ever enter our system because it's on your tanks. That was one of those, just make sure. Our lagoon doesn't like it.
So Forrest, back to connecting to Hutchinson Lane, should we just phrase that as a recommendation that they suggest to the new owner that he pursue if he wants to, I guess. Well, not much.
You could.
Well,
It's hard to enforce a condition that's a recommendation. But you could say something like that. Look into the possibility, or direct the new owner to look into the possibility of utilizing a driveway to Hutchins. That way, it's on the record, and it would be communicated to the new owner, and they might have an idea that would utilize that pretty well. So.
Well, right, I'm guessing the existing loading dock at Madison Foods now is going away. So he's gonna need a loading dock.
We already have what he does with his property. I mean, I can't tell him that, but we already have it like set up in the building where he wants to do it. So will he have to come to you guys to do that? To put in a loading dock or, whatever?
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking it's still traffic flow.
Well, but for his loading dock, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he would have to pull a building permit.
He's gonna have to.
It's in addition to the building.
Yeah.
But it's not a conditional, it's just a Susie looks at it. It wouldn't be something that we would review.
But if he developed that land to that touches the Hutchins, that would come forward.
Yes, depending on what it is. I have one more. All professional services, engineering services, publication costs are submitted to town before construction project begins. That's my other.
All what?
Professional services, all professional service fees and engineering service fees and publication costs are submitted.
So what do you mean? They're architect?
No, I mean,
What is
in
it
our
saying?
zoning, it said in whatever date when we last changed our zoning fees, it said all professional services accrued by the town are billable to the project.
Professional services that we incur.
Basically him.
Like special inspections for construction.
Yeah, any of that.
Forest consulting fees.
Yep. All those.
And they've been billed for them.
And they've been billed.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those. Make sure that they're all there. All my ducks are in a row. I have a checklist.
Does that need to be in there? All professional service.
When your car's done, you have to pay for it before I give you the keys. That's just the deal. Okay. All right. Anybody else got? No vote, so I can just put all the conditions. You can be like, you're crazy.
When do you think they'll start?
We're, as soon as we get through
Since it's still winter.
this, and then DOT, DEQ is kind of our tail wagging the dog. So as soon as we're done with that, we have the contractor ready to go, we're ready to business cards.
There's a lot of them that have business licenses.
Projection.
Yeah, we are, about 2 months out.
Yeah, so 5/23, they have to have their final comment, or 4/23, they'll send their comments to us. We respond to those and they have 30 days from that time.
To respond back with additional comments. So,
Okay.
so as long as we don't, that doesn't go on forever, then we are hopeful that within 2 to 3 months, we're ready to break ground. The hope is and get the building dried in before winter hits. That way we can continue working through that winter season.
So there's no dirt gets moved until that's.
And yeah, correct. And again, and in here, we're conditional upon.
All right, motion, what you got? Are you ready for a motion? You need more discussion time? Where are you at?
So, we try to apply highway connecting elections on a easement?
No.
We're not.
She was asking about the road connecting to Hutchins. Not as a condition of this.
It's a little hard to visualize. Obviously, a bigger store like this with additional drive-through and bank and just the flow of cars, I'm just a little overwhelmed by it, I'll be honest with you. So that the ATM is a drive-up ATM on that little, it comes by Sportsman right now?
I think it's in the parking lot.
Or it's, oh, you come up on it
Yeah,
this, from the parking lot? Oh, just like a standalone, like, sorry, I guess I was looking at that backwards. It's been a long day.
That inset is so the bank can service it from the other side, probably.
So we got drive-through. I guess they could go through the drive-through, come back out this way. All right.
With this road still in there.
I don't know how much traffic the drive-through will bring. Maybe a lot if their fees aren't much.
Drive-through.
Yeah.
Worried about the drive-through restaurant.
So. I have no idea what to say about that, other than, what is it? Highway commercial is, it's right here in his in-force report. How is it put? There's a reason it's highway commercial, not core commercial residential.
Not intended to permit uses that are directly competitive with and destructive to the success of businesses in the commercial core residential. So. So we don't have any say on that still though, right?
Pose the question to me again.
It says the highway commercial district is not intended to permit uses that are directly competitive with and destructive to the success of businesses in the core commercial residential district. So that we do have a say of what goes in here. If it's direct competition with our restaurants and our other.
Pose that one to Forrest, because that is beyond me. I will say
So I
that.
think, I think what that refers to is that's the purpose of the district. So when you're going through your zoning code, laying out what the permitted uses are in the district, you're looking at the purpose to determine what those permitted or conditional uses should be. And then it's just kind of a shorthand for what that zone does. I would not recommend interpreting that to mean that you get, or it's the town commission's responsibility to look at every proposed business in the district and make an individual determination whether or not it would compete with businesses in the core downtown area. You set out permitted uses based on the purpose of the district, which should not do that. So if the use is allowed in the highway commercial district, what your code says is that use should not be competing with the downtown area, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
No, that makes mud.
Can you say
Want me
that
to-
another?
Is there a different way to describe the, I'm like, that's mud to me.
So that's just the purpose of your zoning district. It's the purpose of your highway commercial district. You have permitted uses in that district. Those permitted and that's laid out in your code. Those permitted uses, of which retail is one, hotels, motels are one, are permitted uses in that district because you've already made the finding in your zoning code that those uses do not compete with the downtown core area uses.
What else is permitted? Where is it? Just double checking.
So I guess you currently have a deli in the existing one. Will you have a deli in the new? Okay, and a tenant. Well, it'll just be a subsidiary business of Madison Foods being.
Right now, there's some grocery stores, we got our plans from other grocery stores that are doing this. And
Yeah. So arguably, if you put in a gas station, you'd be competing with Town Pump, but then arguably, I guess to your point, and what's the other?
Yeah, sugar hide up at 3
And
months a year.
a bank, so they're competing with a bank as well. But I guess ultimately, I don't know, just thinking out loud here, the way other banks do things, I guess speaking to what they're talking about is that it's you want to offer as many amenities as you can to attract as many people as you can into your service.
And if you look at permitted uses for highway commercial, besides it being retail, also listed in our code is drive-in establishments, fire and police stations, hotels, motels, restaurants, taverns, and packaged liquor. Marijuana.
don't you dare.
No, actually I can't. Haha, because there's a park right there. Printing shops, public and private recreation, retail stores, service stations, automobile and truck repair, tire store sales, tourist information center and museum, and truck stops. And then past that's conditionals is bus stations, churches, essential services.
So Arctic Circle is a chain? Not saying I wouldn't go through for a burger, but I always thought when Ennis gets
We got a dollar store.
I know, we have Family Dollar. I'm sure, I wasn't here when that came about, but I'm sure
We
there
had
was
a Dairy Queen.
I'm sure there was some pushback,
We just Subway.
but we don't have it now.
I know they all died out. Coincidence?
And just FYI, banks and credit unions are governed
differently. They're really different entities. Yes, they're both financial. Some can offer services that others can't legally.
I don't think a credit union's a bad thing.
So everything that's in there is actually independently permitted already, a permitted use is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So when do you guys need to, like, when's the drop dead date for approval? I feel I'm speaking on behalf of us when I say, I haven't looked at this map and haven't seen a handful of these documents I would have definitely loved to have reviewed prior to today. When do you need approval? Like, obviously sooner the better. That it goes that way with absolutely everything.
We're down to, we got 2 more requirements to get to. One is to finish off the review with the town, and the other is to get DEQ finalized. So, we're there. We've submitted everything that's been requested of us. We're happy to share whatever's needed.
Sure.
And we feel like we've submitted what meets the code, what's required by the code.
Design is required by the code, but we didn't get that till today.
Oh.
Design is required by code, right? And we didn't get that till today.
Well, this is a site plan review, though, right?
It's a major site plan review.
That's probably why the elevations weren't
Sure.
reviewed or weren't submitted for that.
Anything worse than permitted.
Yes, the full set of construction documents have been submitted to the town.
2 or 3 months ago.
I think it was just the new addition so that you saw what it looked like, not the aerial view with the underground, what's underneath, which was what I've been peeling through the most. But I guess it's good that it looks good too, but I want it to.
So if this door is removed on the front of the building, then where's your main entrance gonna be for the bank and for the Arctic Circle? You have to go in the grocery store?
Which is, that is a common layout for grocery store services.
Just as an example, suppose we have a grocery store of this general square footage that like Smith's or Albertsons, or are they all double this?
No, so I built the what is now Town and Country, but at the time it was Heaps Market on the
new one,
east end of town by the hospital. Very similar footprint. They had a robust bakery deli. For that reason, they didn't do a franchised restaurant in there, but very similar in nature. We also work with Town and Country. We help them with almost every one of their stores as
How big is the one going to be in Three Forks?
I don't actually know that off the top of my head, but I would venture a guess that it'll be probably 35 to 40,000 somewhere.
So much. It's just a big building. I got nothing else, so I don't know. It's up to you guys. Make a motion. One way or another.
Do you have another meeting scheduled in April other than the?
We've had two
I know
meetings
you've had a
every
lot.
single month, and I don't think that they. Okay, we took December off. Other than that, we've had 2 meetings, so I would not think that next month's going to be any different.
So the second Thursday is your next meeting.
Yeah. April. Date.
Would that be completely unreasonable to your expectations? If we were to,
13.
I think it's a fantastic plan. I think it's got a lot going on.
There is a lot. I mean, it's a big development. It's a big thing. I guess my question is there a very specific reason that it's not approvable tonight? Asking out of a complete perspective, trying to understand what the hold back for approval would be.
I have all my conditions, so I have none.
As a member of the public who has a little bit of insight as to the town, as I'm doing some temp services, this is huge. None of these people are professionals. We see what we have at the north end all around you. It's not real pretty. Different people involved in that approval process a long time ago. I think everybody's real cognizant about wanting to make the right decisions and be able to consult with Forrest and have all the knowledge they can possibly gather so that they don't regret something later. And we've certainly complied with everything, but that's just my view.
So, just so you know, I mean, Forrest and myself, mostly Forrest, there's a long history prior to getting here. I mean, Forrest had lots of questions, they went back to the table. So, once Forrest determined that all the questions had been answered, and was ready to come before you, he went through those obstacles with them first. You've had the report for quite some time, and you know, you have the availability to call Forrest prior to tonight.
It's just one of those things. It's not to disagree, but it's like the ones that I caught were because like 4 of us, not like Officer Moore, Eric, and he sat down and looked at the map, looked at this other map, looked at the other map, and that's how I came to my conditions. And sometimes, actually every single one of the conditional uses that we've reviewed afterwards, I was like, oh, there was that one more thing. And not that they're deal breakers in the end, because probably would have complied. It's like, I actually would have felt horrible had I missed the hydrant thing. I really would have as a safety issue. I'm setting myself up for a catastrophe in my own mind, having done enough fire to know that was going to not work. It's tight between the 2 lots. That's where my hydrant is right at the corner. But I had the chance to talk to multiple people, and sometimes that weight of making that big decision is made better by like talking to another person. I had that, so I'm good with it, but that's your guys's.
Well, this is our first opportunity to be in the group and have discussion and hear from you and all that. So I'm kind of there too. It's like, okay.
But you have to remember, once it enters public hearing by law, just cannot be a quorum, and you're not technically supposed to discuss outside of the public hearing.
Right, when you're prepared for
I
this,
know.
when you can't talk and bounce ideas off.
But I can still come to you.
Yeah, I'm not a person. I don't get a vote, so I just make recommendations based on safety and health and welfare.
Yeah.
I don't see any other ones other than the road that I really want, but.
Well, this is a first for me. So your recommendations, those just go on the record? Those have
No,
to
the
be-
conditions, if you choose to,
If we adopt it.
if besides Forrest conditions in his staff, those would be.
So the way you do it is you would move to approve the major site plan with the conditions as I outlined in my staff report and as the commission has discussed. And I just recommend that if you were to do that, you'd enumerate what those added conditions are specifically. So those are very clear in the record.
One of the other things, Forrest, so conditions of approval, you added another one, number 6, which
Yeah, that's
none
not
of
on
us
our staff
received.
report.
In your staff report. Number 6 is not.
No.
It should have been in the revised staff report dated March 8th. But it was just the basis of that condition is that the information provided by the applicant is binding. So if they come in and build the grocery store on the opposite side of the lot, they're not allowed to do that. It has to be substantially compliant with the plans they submitted.
So you should have, all of you should have gotten two, not twice, the first time and then a revised one.
I don't have one from March 8th. The one, yeah, it says, at the top it says 2/27 or something.
Revised March 8th. I got it on email.
No, I have one from March 8th as well, but I've only been on the commission for 2 weeks, not 2 months. So my review has been pretty quick, overall review. My biggest concern, ever since I've been coming to these meetings, water and sewer has always been a concern when talking about many different things. And so that's my biggest concern with this as well. I know that we say, well, we have capacity, but we have a session after this to talk more about water. And so I would definitely like to hear more about that before I can feel more comfortable about this.
That was my concern too, when we were back and forth on 2 additional houses, but we're going to approve a facility to 12 residences, and we don't even know how many more Susie might have in.
Not 12.
It's the equivalent.
The equivalent of 12 residential homes is the water usage for the new proposed grocery store.
I don't think that includes connecting the current Madison Foods facility when it was just repurposed for the sportsman's to the water system.
Right.
That would be on top of
And the room.
the 3,000. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. This.
Right, so that would be in
That's a
addition
lot of
to
water.
the 3,000 per day, gallons per day.
May I ask a question right quick? At the beginning of this, we already got a will serve letter from the town for this project, specifically off of this. And an additional study. And an additional study. That the town approved of.
First part of it is you actually, before they go to the process, finding all the water lines and every sewer lines, before they spend the money to go to engineering, a report on it. They give an estimate to the town, which is then turned over to Great West. And that's how Colette came up with their number. So those are all.
And they've been given a letter of intent too.
Where did the letter come from? Just curious.
Who looked at it with me?
All right.
When we went back and forth for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And then went, we really want to know what the water room is going to say. And then it's saying 2021. What did Colette's thing in the staff report?
2021. I'm almost positive.
Is that the Colette? Where is it? In the staff report, underwater, Colette referred to the 2021. Is that what I read?
Yes.
Yes. So it's not based off of the one from a decade ago, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
In 10 years, would we approve this project with no improvements to the water system? Absolutely not. We wouldn't have annexed it in because we wouldn't have been able to. That's where it's at for sure. But with the 2021 report with our engineer. She says it's okay. She's got like letters behind her name that say that it's okay. I don't know what that means to you, but it's better than my decision on whether it's okay. You know that we can't go forever, but
But when do we quit? When do we quit saying yes? I mean, I don't know either.
I don't want to be difficult. I'm just a little taken aback that we sat here at the last meeting and we're concerned about adding 2 houses. That's all.
there's nothing that
That's all.
says that somebody can't. So if we want to do that, then there needs to be action taken before a public hearing for a project.
Okay, I'm learning.
And I'm not
Learning.
against it, I'm saying. But
Yeah.
that's probably the more appropriate rather than, hey, let's put you here and then.
Yeah, can't use it
Just,
right
can
now.
I add something? That, you know, the longer we push this off, the more financial burden I have. Because it's gonna push our project farther and farther down. We're gonna get into some different winter conditions. And there's more money to that. I mean, you guys know what it's like in there. And you know what it's like in there now. It's crowded. The town's growing and we need to grow the town.
Oh, Mike, I swear, I'm gonna get a mic sign.
Sorry, it doesn't come across, Chris, when you're
Okay, sorry.
going back
I forgot
and
about it.
listening to, yeah, so if you would go to the mic.
Sorry.
That'd be good.
I'm used to being able to, maybe we just need a mic sign.
To pass around.
Thank you.
So, I mean, you guys have all been in the store and you know how crowded it is in there now. If we keep pushing this decision down the road, also, it causes greater financial burden to me. And this project is expensive. It's very expensive. I feel like we've gone through and submitted the things that we've needed to submit to meet your codes and stuff. And you know, this town needs it. The town's growing and we need to grow with the town. I think it benefits everybody.
All right, your guys' call. Mhm. Your call. This is what our next meeting.
We can table it for 2 weeks. We'll be right back here in 2 weeks. But we might have more influence to what we're doing.
April 23rd is their first for DEQ.
DEQ will give them their 423. We'll give them their
requirements,
and then Chris responds.
By
And then DEQ has till 523 to respond to that.
Would 2 weeks be horrible?
We want to work with you.
Yeah, and I just want to not walk away tonight and be up all night going, why didn't I think, why didn't I?
I've been kicking myself in the took for a couple months now approving things, and I'm sitting there going back through and saying, they're going, why did I approve that? I knew better.
So is there a motion?
So a meeting when?
So there is a meeting in 2 weeks.
On April 13th is our regular meeting.
It's going to be 3 weeks before you meet again, April 13th.
Oh,
Is there anything that would change a plan? I just don't want to mess up like the DEQ thing. Is there anything that we would say that would mess up a DEQ? See what I'm saying?
DEQ's waiting on us?
No, I'm saying they have the final back and forth between DEQ on the 23rd? And is 10 days always going to be enough? Is there anything that we would do that would mess that up? I don't know.
That's the thing I know that I want to look into is T&D, like a little more thoroughly.
That one
Or
matched.
give you all that. You
Yeah.
have a planner that is told you all that stuff.
The T&D's there. Mine was stuff outside the T&D.
Yeah.
Mine was more water, sewer. I got my happiness.
So I guess I would ask, what is the date that we need to have this done by? Can't we, I mean, it's quite literally, we come in and just do a yes vote on this. It is meeting up for 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
If you have nothing else that you find as a condition, that's the hard part.
Like, we wouldn't be able to put these conditions on there at that point in time at that meeting.
Yes.
And then-
Oh,
Mhm.
what's 2 weeks from now then? Easter week, isn't it?
Come up with anything more than we came up with tonight. Is the 13th of April going to compromise you and delay you?
Even if they come up with something.
No, if they don't.
If they don't,
Yeah.
The one thing it will affect is our general contractor's willingness to hold to his contract.
Well, he can't.
that's
You're
cards
not
and
gonna get
horses.
through DEQ
Yeah,
till
that's
Yeah.
Correct.
23rd of May. So this is not going to, if they came back on the 13th without any new conditions, it wouldn't delay your start of construction.
What if they do?
I'm asking Chris if they did.
If they do not come back with anything else, I think that the 13th will be fine. But if you come back with something, we're not gonna have the time to respond.
Right.
And with the DEQ, it's a very expensive project.
So do we need to have a meeting before the 13th, I guess?
I mean, isn't
Can't-
that what
could
this is
be.
for?
Well, ultimately it is, but
We've submitted to the town's building review process. And that is supposed to shake out all of this, so that it's presented to you guys with, you know, this meets code, this meets requirements. We're seeking approval now. So I guess that's where a little bit of,
Well, if we had a
you
planning
see a
board,
little bit
it
of
probably
uncertainty
would.
on our side, because we're following the process and we're being asked to deviate from that.
And we've asked many times for if you guys needed a special meeting before this. We've asked that many times. And that's why I think we thought we were at that process, you know, we would have that.
There's a communication gap there. That's yours. Here, guys, I think I found all my safety concerns, and then if something goes horribly wrong, I'll find out that I didn't.
So we're 100% sure if we do this today without the condition of water rights, it won't come back to bite us in the ass.
That I don't know the answer to, honestly.
That's one
That's
reason I would
pretty
like to table it
That's valid.
and to look into the easeway.
And those two are valid in my mind.
Can that be made a condition of approval?
Water rights and the easement.
Yes.
Are you willing to do that?
The approval can be conditional upon your investigation.
So if we deem that the water rights would be valuable to the town in the future, based on, like, if it changes our ability to pump volume from a different well, you see what I'm saying? That's my question, actually, that I want to pose to the engineer. If we obtain the water rights,
I might be able to shed some light on that. if this subdivision somehow impacts if them using water from their irrigation well impacts the town wells, is that what you're concerned about?
No, like, so during the annexation process is usually when you do water rights.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen then. And I will have to say at that moment, when we said, what's the overall plan? The response that we got as a council from Blake was, I don't have to tell you.
It's confidential.
Yeah, no, I don't have
So
to
at
disclose
this
that.
point, that is part of our little bit of, we want to make sure that we're getting it all now, because that initial thing didn't go as well as in hindsight I felt it should have. It's not to be mean, that was an error on, I will take the blame on that one, 100%. Annexation is big. This is the first major site plan review that this group has done. And like in fire, every time there's a low occurrence, but high risk, that's when mistakes are made the most, that cost the most to both you and us. Like the whole, do you need a operator for your well? That could cost you huge in the end if we found out that's what it was. So if another meeting 1 week from today for us to answer, does the water rights, obtaining the water rights change future ability to pump different volumes out of what we have? I don't know the answer to that. Does anybody know?
But I thought that could only be used for irrigation. And that's why you were making hook up to city water and sewer.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm not arguing.
I don't know that water rights is just exclusive to that well site as far as your overall collective ability. Does that make sense? Like the DEQ says we can only pump so much because this is what you have for water rights for the town. So if we had your water rights and a well that could produce more, does that give us the ability off of a different well to be able to pump more because we have more water rights? Do you see what I'm saying?
Now I see what you're saying, but
No.
I thought that it could only be used
No.
for irrigation.
Eric,
Nikki?
do you know the answer?
Matt, give me a second on that. You know, when you say you obtain a new well and your well produces so many gallons a minute, the DQ and EP are, they will only allow you 2/3 of what that well actually produces. So
So it's
I think that,
independent of water rights. It's always
yeah,
a percentage of well production
that's how
itself.
I understand it.
That actually makes more sense.
Not to me. Can you explain that to me?
So the water rights for the town, no matter how many water rights you had, the well itself doesn't, the ability to pump out of it is never based on the amount of water rights. It's based on the well itself,
What the well,
capacity of the well. And they will never let you go to 100% of the capacity of the wells. It's always going to be that percentage short. So still the water rights don't help you with a different well, which I thought they might. Apparently they.
Well, what is the point of having water rights then? That's what I don't understand.
If an undeveloped area wants to annex in, you get the water rights first. That means that we
If
can draw
there
the
is a
circle
viable
before they are allowed to build anything. Those are ours as part of coming to town, and you can't build anything since that's our water source now with the thought that we're going to develop it for everybody to use. Does that make sense? None of these are within DEQ standards, which sucks for us as a whole town.
So there's no benefit to the town to
Yeah.
get water rights for those ponds.
No, and it's more advantageous to, especially for any of the irrigation, to be able to do that. Town system for
What's
non.
being irrigated there? Like nothing.
Currently, we have irrigation out at the front of the store.
Yeah,
And we have to have that
Grassy.
for the fuel station.
the one up front. on the road. I find that very strange. As we do like fuel, we have had so much dirt downtown that we've had to put out on tarps and then move. So just the idea of water and fuel in the same location is maybe now a new phobia of mine. But I guess that's a DEQ. I don't know. It makes sense that a well is required for extra fire, extra ability, but also have they control that for a reason. Fuel, water, mixing, hauling.
So I'd just point out that one of the conditions, condition number 3, would include DEQ approval. And I just, depending on what the town, how you want to move forward, I just recommend keeping in mind that we're looking at a zoning site plan. So the requirements are laid out in 1155 in your zoning code. And that's whether or not the application adheres to those requirements is really what the staff report is based on. It's a little more complicated since you're in the T&D overlay, so there's a bit more criteria you have to go through. But really, what I looked at was whether or not the site plan that was submitted complies with zoning. So water rights are somewhat out of the scope of that review.
Nikki, can I say something about the water rights again?
Okay.
I just talked to a gentleman and he says it does help to have the water rights in town. If you don't have enough water rights, then say you can't drill a 400-gallon well. And they can transfer.
What? Say that again. This isn't
Break it up.
Yeah, it's a great connection. I just talked to a gentleman and he told me it is a benefit in the town to have more water rights because I guess I was wrong specifically about it being wells specific. So accumulatively would help you more in the long run to, get a better producing well.
Oh.
But again,
But if that's out of
without
the,
calling DNRC, I couldn't confirm it,
so if that's out of the scope, where's Green Bomb? If this is out of the scope of this, then are we just?
Okay, so from my point, when we noticed that this would have or should have been done at annexation, the water rights, I also did ask Forrest about that, and he said it wasn't your last chance to ask for it, that at this, when the next time they come to the table, you can have that as a condition. So we can still do it as a condition of approval.
Fair enough. How is that worded, Forrest?
That was what worded? Sorry.
If we want the water rights in their entirety, is that?
If you like water rights, what you may want to do is put that in the T&D agreement. That might be the most appropriate place for that discussion, because you do require a T&D agreement as part of development within the traditional neighborhood overlay. So you could require something maybe along the lines of the T&D plan should either maybe lay out a process under which the town could acquire water rights. or the water rights associated with the property. So whether that happens when they hook up to city services, for example, then they would need to surrender the associated water rights to the town, since theoretically they would need water rights to provide potable water to a grocery store if they are, say, the old grocery store, if it ends up connected to city water and sewer, if that makes sense.
So what if, and this is just my thought, we really, as most of this group, only did the annexation review of the portion where the new grocery store is going on. We never actually reviewed the portion, lot 1, lot 2, where we never would have asked for that anyway.
Even what, I mean.
Do you see what I'm saying? We never would have asked for what was on lot 1, 2, because it wasn't part of the annexation that we reviewed. So we would just be asking for the water rights to the one
On lot 1 and 2.
on
So-
lot 4.
Why wasn't it asked for though? If it's such a big deal, why wouldn't it have been?
I
asked
honestly
for?
think it from now on, it just needs to be on the
We didn't
application.
know, Tina. We were all new. We didn't have a clue what the hell.
I don't think I was.
No,
You weren't here yet. So then that would leave the one that's required for fire and violence to the owner.
Your conditions can only apply
To
to
this.
this because that's all
Although
that's
it's-
up.
That's what I'm
That's-
saying.
the application only covers that.
That's what I'm saying, is that one's not, we're only reviewing this section right here, so it would be just that one. Water rights for that one, which means that they would have to irrigate. But if it's beneficial enough that for the town later, pros and cons to the town having that one well, that and the water rights to the one well.
Where? Sorry, I'm confused now. On or in the new grocery store building, that one right there.
Yes.
Okay.
There's not a huge amount of landscaping, so the water usage off the town is not that great. We're
Right. So is there a possibility in the future to lot 1 and 2? There's a well at the very close to 287 on lot 2. Or can we acquire that at some point in time or not?
I just don't see any point in it. Like it wasn't under.
Why? Well, if we're doing water rights for this one, why wouldn't we want it for that one?
Yes.
I don't
Lot 1
understand.
and 2 is not part of this application process.
So later down the road, when they come back to us and they want to do their full lots, is when they
Then
ask for it?
that's when you can put a condition on that application.
Okay. Well, let's put it on the condition.
Eric.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that make?
Holy.
Making. You were making noises.
You were
I was
making
saying
noises.
Does that make sense?
But Forrest, you're saying anyways, if we want to address any water rights items on the lot 4 area, we would do that at a future time.
I think it would make sense to put it in the TND, which is the traditional neighborhood district plan, and put in something like if they connect to city water and sewer, then the city can acquire those water rights associated with that lot, with lot 4.
Is that something that we will see again, or does that go?
I have
you?
to sign. I have to sign the TND agreement. It's part of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I usually pull up the meeting from this, review the meeting, and then make sure that everything that we talked about in the meeting made it to the T&D agreement, and then I sign it. Like I did this with the
Who draws up the TND agreement?
step.
Town attorney or?
No,
It actually is supposed to be on it by the, because she has it.
Yep. So far, they've all looked great and met all the requirements. They're like, I do not want this last piece of paper to be the reason that I'm not getting my project done. Yeah. What other concerns? Look at all
The water line, the road, the easeway is fine. And that's about it.
What was that last one you said?
The easement. Being paved.
We still have more stuff to talk about.
I guess when it gets here to us, we're just supposed to be ready to say yes. Is that how I'm understanding it? Because Susie's done her job, Boris has done his job. You came up with your questions.
I guess you
I'm sorry,
said to
I'm
say
learning.
yes. So if you read the front page of the paper, they went through this huge subdivision review on Mile Creek, right? So they held public hearings, planning board made its recommendations. That's the hard part for us, is we're missing an in-between. We're missing an extra set of
Qualified people. We're not qualified. I'm not qualified.
It's not qualified. It's just another set of eyes. Everybody has a different set of expertise that they bring to the table. Like, you know what I'm saying? A construction worker is going to look at it different than a firefighter that's going to look at it different than a professional planner that's going to look at it different. Everybody's got a view based on their expertise, and that's why a planning board is great with a seven has different views, so they can catch
And they can
safety
take
things.
6 hours to look at it and bounce ideas off each other. Whereas
Safety.
we have this.
You have to look at the overall purpose of what we do, right? Safety, health, welfare. Do we feel that in any way this plan would violate one of those criteria?
I mean, safety possibly.
On which one?
Just the congestion of traffic in there.
So the DOT is going to make their requirements on the main highway.
Mhm.
You're saying, would you feel better if that other one was in there? Or
Well, when I
what's
was
going to make
first
it better?
looking at this, I thought this was going to be an entrance and an exit. So the fact that it's only an exit, there's only one entrance, and I mean, I guess you can count that as an end, but it's not a road.
No, we have two entrances because over here by these
Oh, yeah,
proposed
that
gas
too.
pumps.
Is the
That's the
existing one.
existing.
Yeah, but that
And it's
still
gonna
all
stay
leads-
there.
But that all leads to 287 that gets backed up so bad that it's ridiculous anyways.
Is it any worse than a
That's
stop
valid.
sign?
No, I'm saying that's why it's backed up. I mean,
Then
But that's with
DOT's,
the traffic study and DOT.
Yeah.
they'll have to deal with it at that
addresses.
point. We don't have any say over it anyways, ultimately.
but this, if we made that into a road, then we would have say over that.
But that lot is not part of this application.
Is there anything on the lot that would make it any better? I don't see anything that wouldn't make me more nervous putting more traffic near it. You know what I'm saying? I don't see anything that makes it any better. I actually love the amount of space between the propane tanks and most buildings. I know a lot in the sewer was beautiful with testing and clean outs, and Eric liked it. He gets excited about cleanups.
I make a motion. Where's my paper? Where is my, what I'm looking for? Just kidding.
So,
You make the motion. I'll
Okay.
second it.
I move to approve the Madison Foods subdivision
Not subdivision.
Site
major
plan.
site plan with conditions as written
By.
by Forrest
Finding of facts in the staff report.
in the staff report with the additional conditions. Condition number 1, all professional service fees and engineering fees will be submitted to the town prior to construction. That the applicants look into the possibility of a 20-foot asphalt easement connecting to Hutchinson Lane. And digital readable maps for the next presentation.
About all future documents presented digitally.
Okay, all future documents presented digitally. That the apartments are hooked up to water and sewer. I guess I am on condition number
4.
That's 4.
Okay, and then condition number 5, that a hydrant be installed on the southeast corner of lot number 3. Do we have to say that? And condition number 6, to include the T&D agreement.
Include the transfer of water rights on lot 4 in the T&D agreement.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And the time will be
Is
paid
their
for.
responsibility.
Is that not already in there? Condition number 7, Brandy,
Signage is their responsibility.
that signage is their responsibility.
And then the first one, you didn't finish the sentence. All professional services and engineering fees acquired as such will be paid for by the contacting party, by them. It was weird and funny when you said it. They have to pay
Okay.
for it.
They're all going to be prior to the start of construction.
They're already paid.
Yeah.
Right, they're just
They've already
acknowledging,
paid part of them anyway.
Yeah.
they're just acknowledging that they paid for them is what that was, I think.
I don't think we mentioned hooking up the current grocery store also.
That's in the
And
findings.
she said, and Chris already made plans, is in purchase and sale and her contract, so I think we're there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Did I miss anything else?
Use the findings.
Is that all of them? Did anybody have any additional?
I don't.
All of Forrest and all of that.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any other further discussion? Just give me that look like she has another one, another thought.
Now that'll pop up at 2 a.m. Don't worry, I'll call you.
Okay. No other discussion? Second call for the council's last, final, third? Oh,
Question for you, Nick, you're not concerned, as far as the water situation goes, you're not concerned based on what you've been presented?
Good question.
Just on-
if you don't have a plan, yes. If I have a plan, no. Do we have a plan that we're actually going to follow? I think we're fine. Along with other factors that I guess the backup pump is actually going to be here, which makes me ecstatic because that was one of those like, I don't want anything extra until there was an actual physical extra pump in Montana, which is almost here and it's March, so it's not July, so I'm happy there. So that's one of my main, yes, it's okay. And I feel like if there's going to be a proposal later from maybe Public Works and I on some watering regulations, which is really where we fight that water demand, fire demand, is during the summer. And if we put those stipulations in to give ourselves a real buffer, I feel more comfortable. And I think Eric will maybe be able to sleep if people aren't watering their lawns at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in August. So I think if we actually take the steps to fix the code and put some stuff in there, then I'm okay with it. So yes, I have a plan. And that makes me feel better. Does that mean that I'm right? I don't know.
There's no portion of this plan though that helps that situation though. Is that a true statement? When I say helps that situation, we're looking at $4 million to put a new water tank and pump and fencing and so on. There's nothing in that plan that
It's going to help
that
that?
helps that.
No, that's a big
alleviate that.
project. That's a big project.
That's got to be done anyway.
Yeah,
I know, but
it's regardless and independent. It didn't matter. It's just there. Water and sewer hookup fees. So that times 2.
times 3, eventually.
Yeah. Okay. Any other? So the third and final call for discussion. Okay. It's our first night. So first thing that we're voting on tonight. So you get to go first.
Well, with all the conditions in place, then, and based on what you told me about what you know about the water situation, then yes.
Okay. That's where you say yes or no.
I know.
She's like, I'm nodding and thinking about it.
Yes. Aye.
No.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Site plan review is there. T&D was all the fun stuff that we discussed. If you need notes.
Thank you.
We'll see how, you can always watch the YouTube video painfully after we get it finished.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What?
We have an intermission.
There's been an intermission requested and granted.
Huh?
7 minutes.
Okay.
Back at 9.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for it.
Thanks. So I guarantee it tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, 7 minutes? Tomorrow,
You're gonna wake up in the middle of the night and think of something else.
no, tomorrow I'm going to be told town is weak. Town is weak. How do you say no? How do you say no though?
You
Legally, no.
Yeah, you couldn't vote any other way.
Microphone's on.
That's okay. I mean, I'm not saying anything that I hope they hear, because that's the feedback is, oh, town is weak. They said yes again. We're out of water.
Okay.
People that are saying this, I would like to see this, and you can hear it from
Yeah,
everybody.
please say it.
There was 3 calls for public comments, right? So if you want to
Thank
say,
you.
there were 3 calls for public comment, seeing none against the project. It makes it very hard to make decisions when we're making it without public comment. I love public comment.
And I mean,
I love public
and
comment.
basically,
I told high school kids I love public comment.
I mean, and I feel that we're told basically it's gone through you, it's gone through Forest. We should be saying yes.
It's just like my Willow. It met all of the requirements.
Well, and that's what it basically does,
Yeah,
right?
as
It
long
does.
as it
So
meets the requirements.
we can't
you
say
have-
anything
You have no basis to deny
to
it.
deny it. But
We're doing 7 minute interview.
Yeah.
You gotta change the requirements.
Right, that's my dilemma, because that's what I read in here, is it meets all the requirements. But I was looking at some numbers from the last, like, water engineering report, and we're gonna do another working session. with that.
And
But
Tina
I
brought
still
up,
wish they would.
I'm still,
All right, you can table it.
Tina brought up how
Just get back to us, because that's what.
there
that's
was
what Blake has done.
question about those 2 houses at the last meeting. The only reason they came before you is because they wanted an exception. She can approve houses all day long, and they'll never come before you as long as they meet all the conditions of that zoning.
It should not be developers.
You know, it's like, you're at the point where there's gonna be a,
Should not the developers, hoping to contribute to the, I know everybody's gonna pay, for water.
Impact fees.
But yeah,
Insurgents.
absolutely.
You have to be able to justify it, but boy, when I came from the seaward out of the west, I built a garage, added to my property. Had to go to the school and pay a $6,000 impact fee. Not impacting the school. The square footage was empty. And
But for something like this, they are impacted.
we have a critical infrastructure improvement necessary. I'm guessing that can be used to support why we need $50,000 when somebody wants to annex it.
I think so.
But without it being
Otherwise,
in the,
all the residents are paying, they're carrying all the burden. And the developers are just, they're building and then expect the residents.
Yeah.
Put the bill.
and
Developers should be.
it'll sure slow it down.
yeah, developers are headed to small towns like Twin Ridges and Sheridan and Ennis, because we don't have those impact.
That was kind of my question, though, like, how much, what are they contributing? Is any of this contributing, any of the site plan business contributing to our water problem? Or remedying our water problem?
Right, but either we need to just be like, there's a moratorium on it right now, and nobody
I'd be
is.
okay with that.
Sheridan just did it after providing, they just got a full rework on all their water and sewer, right? Just a few years ago, they have the highest water rates in the state right now, I believe. But they're all mandated by the federal government because they are, they failed. They were at the point their well completely failed and they had no other option. They had to ask for federal money. But yeah, it's definitely, we've got our sewer study coming up, but we need to start moving. That's why it's the second item on the agenda. Hopefully we, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like Forrest said, we can't say, wasn't it Forrest? We can't actually say no based off of water because that was already that ship sailed. That ultimately you could vote no on it. We could only vote it down.
Well, that's why I was trying to table it, because there was all, at a certain point, it was, we can, if we want, or we can. All vote no. And then we're all gonna.
For the record, though, if we all vote no, public comment would help out with us a lot with that. Then we'd have more support and we wouldn't be on our own.
We love public comment.
Huh?
Public comment.
They could have come and they could have said, we are against this. We don't want sugar high going out of business. We don't want pharmacy going out of business. We don't want our local thing.
We don't even know if it will, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
To the topics, once they're there.
Everybody.
How does the public know to comment on site plan?
It's advertised. It's advertised.
I know it's advertised and you can come in, during.
But that's why we wanted the digital
to
from
the
now
town
on.
hall
Yeah.
and
So that if somebody asks for it, I can just send it to them digitally, which would make things easier.
That book is so important.
And as far as the site plan goes, like, we did what we had to do. But when it comes to what's inside, that screws a lot of businesses.
I was here Friday.
Well, the planning board,
Yes, that's what I was trying to get to. I had.
there's a lot of people that are super
I had them all.
different, totally different backgrounds. That's what I liked about everybody is they had.
We only need one more. We just need Jennifer Young or Jeremy Ramirez. That's it. I have the entire rest of the roster. I confirmed them all this week.
Okay. That makes that doable. Okay, water. Oh, wait. Tina. And then water.
Well, please make it.
You need minutes for this?
You
want minutes for this? I'm good with it, but I don't know what to say.
like highlights.
Okay.
It's the highlight. Mostly like I don't feel comfortable as the contracting officer. Colette asked me, I'll wait till Tina says, to give the background to it and then we'll go there.
Come on, man, we're waiting on you.
But there's nothing in there.
There's irrigate. What if they irrigate?
Oh, I
Okay.
missed something?
No. Okay, so I'm going to give you the background behind the work session. That Colette called from Great West, said, okay, I'm not
Turn them on?
off. Okay. So Colette contacted me after the public hearing for the water portion and said, where do you want to proceed? Do you want to proceed? Do you want to start putting bids out? And that was one of those like, that's a big decision for me all by myself to be making because those are not regular budget dollars in my mind. That's like that's millions. That's not a decision that I was okay putting on either me or Eric alone. So that's why I did the water session. And I think the overall goal, if you guys are good with it, I think the plan is to cut the line that's at the property at Morse, or what's that property called? Where the old bank is, Eric?
The triangle.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know the exact name of it.
Okay. So we have an old holding tank at Antelope Meadows. And it's a whole fenced off scary property. If you take the water, Eric can show you where it's at. So in that, because of its elevation, it's not high enough to keep our pressures up. So it's unusable to us. So we would like to sell that property. We have to disconnect it from the system and then use that money to purchase land higher up, if we can, to build the tank that is item number 2 in the water report. Is it 3? Yes. Are we in agreement that it's concrete that we're after? I mean, they gave us other options, but, and it's the highest price.
Last time.
Yeah, that's, yeah. And then combined with the earthquake value for damage, I mean, one's more earthquake resistant than the other, and the concrete was more earthquake resistant. And while we haven't had any, but we still, I think Quake Click's that good reminder, and usually areas go on a cycle, so I think it's best for long-term planning for the concrete. So are we good with that as the plan? Okay.
Is there land higher up that conceivably is available?
Eric, didn't we look and see that maybe there was?
I think we need to maybe contact some owners there.
Okay. But regardless, we're gonna have to sell off the other property.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's somebody to contact?
Yes.
How many acres is it?
It's in a
At least
residential
2.
building, and there have actually been people that have approached the town before. So we'll have to disconnect it, go through an appraisal, and then do sealed bids for it. No, but we have to make sure it's disconnected. So that's, I guess, if it's cool and you want.
I have to disconnect that no matter what.
Yeah.
This spring.
So, are we good with that portion?
Yes.
Okay. This is where it gets weird for me. The water supply at the rodeo ground. That's almost $1 million of it. And it doesn't, I hate it, it doesn't meet the requirements that we need.
$1 million?
Well, 925,000.
Yeah, can we sell that and look for a viable piece?
So the rodeo portion was only given to us if we developed it for that. If we don't, that needs to go back to the rodeo association.
Oh.
Something the town owns. It's if we use it for that, they are okay with it. But if it is not to be used for that, then it goes back to the rodeo association, which I think is very fair because it was theirs and they basically gave it with some stipulations that if it's developed, they get some water. Eric.
Is it only that, sorry, is it only that portion? Is there anywhere else on there that maybe if I want
You know, that's the hard part. We don't own any more land to, and then you're drilling a test well on top, you know, that's the hard part about water.
So do you think it's the right path? And I don't even know how to put that. To develop that well.
It's going to be the cheapest, but I don't know. I don't know that it's enough water. You know, I think we would have to ultimately keep looking more, but that would definitely help, you know?
It will help. So
but what's the point of putting in that money into something short term that's not going to solve anything 100%?
you could, I think that's the problem with this water report. You look at this one and you look at the one 10 years ago, absolutely nothing was done because nothing is going to be a definitive permanent fix forever. And that's, I think, part of growth is we're going to have to take it in what steps that we can take it in.
Yeah.
Knowing at least that's making it better than it was rather than holding out and doing nothing and putting the weight of development on the next people that sit in these seats with no good plan. I don't love this as our well, but this is our best viable option. So, yes, priority one, that we don't have to acquire. We just start on this. Plus more water supply and at least maybe give us that fire buffer that we need. That doesn't mean that that gives us the ability to annex more at this point. Because I don't think that that's what it gives us. I think it gives us the comfortable for what's within limits right now and smaller, very small projects. Does that make sense?
That well in the output of that, best case output.
Yeah. Correct. I still think it's worth it, as there's no other water sites right now. I mean, it's going to take us a while to get to this, so looking at the hydrogeological study, there's very few that well sites that could be of use to us. And the next biggest one is out by the school. And they would have to annex in for that. And at that point, we would have the ability for future growth. So that's one of the sites. And the other one, somewhere downtown, and it's not.
The school, you mean the bus barn?
Yeah, that port. Way out there.
Mm. Mm.
So I think the overall plan, like, yes, do one, do two, do a schedule for, it's just a big project in general. And I don't think it's something that you can, I mean, you could just do it all at once. But my recommendation would be to be replacing 2 hydrants a year and just continue that through the whole 10 years. As we do budget, know that we're always going to put 2 on there. I know there was only 10 for replacement, but even as they age out, that makes that ability. So 2 of those per year, because we're going to have some extra. I don't want to tackle that one as a whole because there's going to be some extra water projects that are going to have to go on in between, like the valving at what's the street, so that we can shut off Main. We're going to have to do that this year.
Would be First Street.
Okay. And then the same with the meters is just do it over
20% a year or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. So, okay.
You know, and the thing about the meters is that's gonna help.
Yeah.
With the water too. You know.
So. Big intersection. When we did it, there was a valve in one spot and one, so there was 2 valves, was it. So when intersections are designed now, not back in whatever year downtown was built, you always do 4 and then you could grid it. So if every intersection actually had 4 valves, we could shut things off block by block instead of half a town at a time. So, and when we had the service line break earlier down by the theater, we tried to shut valves down. And Kyle went door to door and said, hey, we're going to turn the water off. Well, we did all the turning that we could turn and nothing happened. So this has to happen. So we're talking about putting this one out for bid as a project. So that's going to be this year. That's a
Kirsten.
And Hugo.
Yeah.
If we can.
Yeah, those are the 2, and that'll give us the ability to make repairs easier without shutting down huge sections of town.
And that's happening
I-
this year.
Yes, that's the plan. Correct?
Yep.
Eric? Okay.
Yes.
We agreed on this plan. I'm not just telling you horrible
Yes.
things.
No, you're doing great. Yeah.
Okay. So that takes care of at least a plan for, where are we at? Where's my priority thing? So 1 through 4. And valves. That's kind of 6. They have it as 6, but really, we're trying to, we've been trying to get estimates on generator for well 2, as well as one for town hall. But after that, I kind of feel like 7, 8, 9 are way more than we need to tackle in this decade. Correct? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's one right here.
And did we, so as far as the trying to figure out where all the leaks are happening, did we do that February, March thing?
Oh, the drawdown? Eric, where are we with the drawdown test?
Oh yeah. When I get back, we'll be doing that.
Okay. And then then we'll know more accurately how much loss.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, I'll be working 3 hours a night doing that. So that's when that's
Okay.
gonna happen.
Okay, so we'll know that for sure.
Nice. Next week?
Yeah. Yeah, Monday. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay. And I really do think we're better off than we were, but that's just based on how much the pump time was running. I think we're better. Not great, not perfect, getting closer to that average loss. Most towns, what did Bobby say, are at 10 to 12%?
That's acceptable. 10 to 12% loss. Yeah. That's what everybody always shoots for.
Okay, is the goal. So that's our
Yep.
goal, is that. So are we okay with that as our next 10-year kind of prioritized list?
2, 3, 6. Yeah, 1 through 6, right?
1 through 6. We're leaving 7, 8, and 9 out of the. I would, unless somebody annexes and it wants to annex in and they want to pay for. That's one of the things that we should keep this for, is future annexations, so we can say like, hey, maybe we need to contribute to a portion of what happens. Yeah, whatever. That I'm gonna, and the chlorination in my mind is, we can still achieve disinfection. It's not super convenient by climbing the ladder and dumping it in. But once you put, see, I did the same thing. I didn't leave the room. Once you add the chlorination system to a well, once you activate it, everybody's dying.
He's plumbing.
So once you add the chlorination to the well, once you activate it in emergency, it's required that you use it from then on out. And I personally hate the way Bozeman water and Billings water taste, so I'd like to never add that unless absolutely required. Oh yeah, you have to add extra stuff to your license and testing and ugh. Okay, in agreement. So that's the plan. So we'll go through the water rate increase after we see the wastewater report, so that we do it all at once, because this feels like it's going to be painful. But we have, Eric's been working on a resolution of intent to start that process. So at least we're getting our framework down and ready for that. Okay. In the meantime, what I would like to do to help with that is Eric's also given me a whole bunch of background information for adding to the water section watering restrictions. So I'll send you kind of drafts of resolution and the background information for that. And it's basically hits mile markers for like, if we're at this stage, we're going to ask you to do this. If we're at this stage, we're going to say every other day. If we're at this stage, we're just going to say no go. So that gives us the ability through ordinance to say, we have a pump down. You don't get to water your lawn. We're saving that water just for really essential things.
Unless you have your own irrigation.
Is that good?
Say that again. It would, like, not everybody every other day, like, couldn't it be odd address even?
Yeah, that's what's called. Yeah. Odd addresses on odd days, even addresses on even days. The
I guess I'm back in Texas, sorry. I thought we were.
the town has it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday or something for our town parks. So that we're not exempt from the same rules that we're asking everybody else to follow.
And we're gonna put this out like sooner than later, just so
I want,
kind of has.
I'm trying to get this one up and running before summer. It needs to be in place before summer.
Sure.
So.
There's a problem with the existing one, or is this just, like you said, pump goes down or something happens?
And there was a little bit of irritation last summer when the pumps were running like 24/7 and people were watering their lawn at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the windiest day in August. You're like, it's not really helping. So maybe if we put in the ability for some teeth other than just saying like, hey, that's not actually the best way to do this. Now we can say on requirement because you're making our pumps run too much. You're going to burn them up.
Shouldn't water at 3 o'clock in the afternoon anyway.
That's right.
And then we have an exclusion in there that that says if you just put in sod, you have 30 days to not be on the schedule so that you didn't just burn up your, well, however much. Okay. So we're not.
Sod. What's sod?
What if we just don't allow sod during
That's not gonna work. So, yeah, you're like, okay, it'll be fine. Any other thoughts on how we can make that better? Or even that?
When we move on to, well, talk with new developments coming in, how do we need to, as a unit here, if we're all in agreement on, water, that we are currently suffering from some serious water issues. I mean, maybe just suggesting zero-scape or, I don't know.
What about giant impact fees? So that one, they won't develop, or two, if they do,
Man.
distribute money to your coffers to pay for this. I mean, absorbing it.
So
Where are we at with impact?
We need to, okay, so if we're gonna do that, since it's March and we're already talking about stuff, to develop an impact fee, we can't just set it, as far
No,
as
you
I
have
understand. You have to, well, and I mean, not just go through ordinance process, you have to have backing behind it.
Yeah.
As,
Justify it.
yeah, you have to justify it.
Study,
It's a study that costs a lot of.
$38,000.
Isn't this millions of dollars that you have to spend justification for impact fees?
Sure thing.
It is probably part of it. I guess my question, and I don't know who I'm posing the question to, is do you have to get a professional service to do a study on your municipality to be able to establish impact fees?
Yes.
She's like, why are you pointing at me?
Great West or Forest could probably tell you.
Yeah, I talked to Manhattan and Three Forks about this a while ago, and yeah, almost certain you have to conduct that study.
Where is there any more land in town to develop?
There's still some in the North 40, and there's still some in the middle.
Why did they make the North 40 give up those waste for? I mean, I guess a lot of houses out there, but is that allowed? Why did they make that?
That's a transfer station.
The pump station.
It's a lift station.
Lift station.
For wastewater.
Why did they kill?
Subdivision review is like a nightmare is what I'm. Because it applies to the whole thing.
Build buildings that looked like the renderings that they offered the town when they applied for it, which were very attractive.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't.
All right, we're digressing away from water. I'm saying that, like, if the other annexation ever comes up,
Full water rates.
there's a lot. There's a lot more. Like, you're responsible for signs from now to Kingdom Come. I don't care how many construction workers run those over.
It's exactly what Forrest said, though. You reverse that. I don't know how he said it. It basically says you're going to, like, it says it in the application that you will surrender your water rights, basically.
I do feel like that needs to be on the application.
Whatever
Can we?
Forrest said is what it.
Our application actually comes from that. It's the same one that you watched the video on. I can't remember what it's called.
A Department of Commerce.
The form actually says upon annexation, you will surrender your water rights. I think once you vote to annex them in, they surrender it.
Yeah, see if we can just put that on the application so there's no forgetting. There's no this, that, or the other. And then maybe in lieu of water rights, you may be asked to give a financial contribution to the water wastewater system. So if you don't have any, I still want something from you. So will that at least, we're playing catch up. So I want to make sure that we have the plan to actually proceed with it as opposed to the last water report, which looks, by the way, if you've read it, identical to this. Literally nothing in a decade.
What do you mean?
I mean, the water report from 11 years ago is almost, is like a duplicate, pretty much.
No, it was Great West Engineering.
Same engineering firm, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially when the town doesn't do anything.
We made it easy. Did they charge us?
I'm pretty sure the costs were a lot different a decade ago, and I wish they had been done then, but. Okay, so that's the plan, if we're all good with it. I don't know, do I have to officially put that on the agenda to vote to approve those next month? I mean, we did the public hearing, but let's do it just to be official. Okay, so I'll put a resolution together for April that says this is in fact our plan. We've decided over the next 10 years to put priority 1 through 6 on the list, doing some of it in 2-year increments like the hydrants, the water meters, and then priority 5 is actually going to go down 1 and 6 is going to go up 1. We're technically working on the valving starting this summer.
Where's the increase?
What?
Water.
The water rate increase?
Uh-huh.
So the resolution of intent is pretty much done with its draft. I got to fill in some things here, there, and yonder, and we're good. We didn't want to do it until we heard the wastewater one so that we didn't have to go through the process twice. So that's where it's at. Good? Yes.
So I know we have ARPA funds for hydrants, but there's also, we can apply for grants for hydrants too, correct?
So as part of this, we're saying yes to this. This means that we're going to have to go to the financial section of this statement and go to the loan programs and what we can do based on timing. So some of this is not going to be released until next legislative session. That's why it sucked that we were out of rotation and didn't have this done before this year.
Which is 2 years from now.
So 2 years from now, we will be eligible to put in for some of these. So some of it, like the DNRC loan, we will approach that one because if you meet your target rate and complete your projects on time, then you get reimbursed it. So it's kind of like a grant, but they can't say it's a grant. Remember that one? So that's 750. So that's actually a good chunk of well number 3. Okay. Well number 4. Okay. So the other part is we're going to actually have to take out loan. The SR. Thank you. Possibly. So we're going to review what we're getting from the county. I thought we had 250. Okay, we have 250 for sure. 225 for sure. At least that's a start.
It's right here, yes, too.
And we have to have that spent. Eric, ARPA funds have to be spent by. Oh.
You can still hear you.
I know there's a timeline and I'd have to review the ARPA. But we'll burn through those really fast. I'm not worried about it. Even just between the valving project and we're gonna have a good chunk out of it right there.
Right, so should we apply for grants for hydrants? Because they have separate grants for it.
If there are any, I'll talk to Great West, see what we can get on grant. Know that we're going to be out of cycle, but at least have everything prepped for next cycle, which we will even be here, thankfully. And then go from there.
Pretty much assures she'll run again for mayor.
No.
Get all this done.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the plan. Do we like the plan?
Yes.
Okay. I'll put a resolution together with the plan so that it's officially voted on, so everybody in the public knows what the plan is.
I want to see people's faces in our meetings.
Sometimes.
Listen to this on YouTube. Come to the meeting. Be a voice. Have I bring cupcakes?
She's down to bribery. Okay.
Nice thought.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Oh, we're done? I forgot.
Who said?
Do you want me to
Nikki.
retract it?
Nikki.
No, I didn't know
Okay.
that was it.
And then back to him.
Why? Not about water. What's the next?
You're still being recorded because you were a quorum.
Yeah. No, what's
Thanks,
the?
guys.
You wake up now. What's the next step then to the grocery store? What's the deal with these gas pumps? That's
no
gonna
idea.
come to us
Later.
Later.
All back, starting at square one.
Okay, and then whatever happens when she sells her building, that'll potentially.
If it's just another retail store and there's no
Major site planner.
change, wouldn't necessarily.
Well, what is the gas, what are the gas pumps? That's pretty major.
That's a separate lot from the
Yeah.
retail store, from the old market.
Oh, it is? It's a totally separate, that
Lot.
she's retained
She's retaining the fuel pump lot.
in front of the furniture. And how, I wanna know if people from next, or, I don't know, I figured this out, but like, to that section to the left of the old store, how much property is there? Is that, would that be viable for a, well, 100 square feet? Or what'd you say?
100 feet.
100 feet?
100 by 100, 10,000
What
square
I'm
feet.
saying,
To the left, looking at it? Behind
Straight to the
dollar.
no.
Yeah, right behind the dollar.
I'm not serious, I'm pretty sure there's a drain field for the sewage. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure DEQ is gonna be like, yeah, you cannot have a public water supply where there used to be.
Well, you said it has to be elevated anyways. We gotta find an elevated.
No, the storage has to be elevated.
You'd have to be on.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's easy. How much space does that require?
What?
How big does it have to be for storage?
A tank or storage tank.
Well, right, but like in half an acre or quarter acre or out our current one.
I have to ask Eric.
What if anything get with that money?
Here, I gotta go look at something. Had recorded all cleverly educated the world, just so that I could play them all the future generation. Obviously not paying attention back there, but when you said that, I didn't remember anything. Oh, it was so long. It was so brain. That RV parking at the grocery store, that's just for shopping. Yeah, you can't camp there, right? No. I think that's ordinance against that, and they said right in the agreement, in our conditions, that you're going to.
Only at Walmart.
Yeah, well, go. Here. Yeah, probably. We're just okay. Why didn't you get downgraded to agricultural? I know, we're just country. You do the whole thing. Here, you want this? Draw pictures on it, and set it all up. This is in my mind.
Why did they rent something with a curve that's not there?
Right? Somebody told me about it.
Very much appreciated. I'm gonna take Bear soon. Okay. Sunday, they're not open. You down at the store on Sunday and I didn't.
Good night, thank you, Maria.
Thank you for saying like as a
Yeah.
resident in our, thank you for saying like as a resident. And maybe I was one of our residents, you're our only thing we can.
could have got it, that's, no, that's Lakewood. All right, now I understand. But that was 3 extra weeks that I just kept trying to get somebody to. Yeah, that's fine. But, I mean, ultimately, you know, just. Access.
Yeah, that was kind of hard. And I'm like looking at like all different things.
Well, what thing did we have, like, other than them handing those documents out to us, did I have those?
So then when Nikki had this other document, I was saying, well, what is this? Highway. Or I never seen that. And they're like, are you looking over at Nikki's going, well, I won't want it. When I went to get this, I have one that says Denver. Oh, really? I don't think you gave me that.
Right.
You gave me a purple one. But I haven't, I think maybe like, or I'll come home or something. Well, what's Maria doing with that one? She put all the new stuff in it. And Nifty, we gotta do the camping fix all over again. Why? Nobody, when they changed the format, left half of it out. Certainly the other person that worked on it, you guys changed. Started to beat.
Yeah.
Started to beat. Yeah, I was like, I know that one.
Yeah.
Fun, folks.